Chapter 2299. Damn it, don't let me bump into you again. In the future, every time I touch you, I will hit you once. After entering the Su family through the dog hole, Su-hee and Ning-yu gathered together. However, Su-hee kept roaring in anger, full of unwillingness. Things had come to this. Su-hee could see some clues. The servant guarding the door must have been instructed by Void Leopard. After all, he was one of the top 10 peerless geniuses in the Su family. It was impossible for him to be stopped outside. You trash! In Su-hee's heart, the double-horned beast was so angry that its nostrils were on fire. If he had known earlier, he would have begged Ning-yu. Even if it was attached to a flying sword, it would be much better than being attached to Su-hee's body. With Su-hee, he went through the dog hole for the first time in his life. Ant could endure it, but he couldn't. Puff, puff, puff. The double-horned beast scurried around in Su-hee's body, causing him to spit out blood. Swoosh! 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 At this moment, several figures approached from afar and suddenly arrived in front of Ning-yu and Su-hee. Void Leopard! These figures were none other than Void Leopard and the rest that he had met outside the Su family. I'm curious. Why didn't you go through the dog hole? Void Leopard crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ning-yu with interest. He asked doubtfully, "Why did the servant guarding the door let you in?" "Very simple. I exposed the secret between you and him," Ning-yu said indifferently. Swoosh! Void Leopard's expression instantly turned cold. However, Void Leopard's cold expression only lasted for an instant before returning to normal. He smiled. You really know how to joke. I wonder if you are interested in coming to my place for a chat? I would love to. Ning-yu knew what Void Leopard was planning, but he was not afraid at all. Void Leopard's invitation was exactly what he wanted. His goal in coming to the Su family was to find Su-ying. Void Leopard had Su-ying's aura, which meant that he had seen Su-ying recently. From Void Leopard, he might be able to get some news about Su-ying. Let's go. Ning-yu's straightforward answer caused Void Leopard to be slightly surprised. However, Su Bao was indeed a peerless genius of the Su clan. He waved his hand and said, "My residence is not far from here." Whoosh! During the conversation, the Void Leopard's figure flashed as it flew into the distance. Voila! Void Leopard's friends did not stop and followed closely behind Void Leopard. Let's go too. Since he had decided to find a breakthrough from Void Leopard, Ning-yu naturally would not be stupid enough to refuse Void Leopard. He glanced at Su-hee, then stomped on the ground and dashed away. The facts proved that Void Leopard did not deceive Ning-yu. In just 10 seconds, they arrived at the Void Leopard's residence. You guys stand guard here. Without my permission, don't let anyone in. Su Bao instructed the warrior behind him before pushing open the door and walking in. Creak! Without any hesitation, Ning-yu followed the Void Leopard into the room. As for Su-hee, he was stopped by Void Leopard's servant. Su-hee wanted to get angry, but he knew that he was not Void Leopard's opponent. Hence, he could only stay outside the door. Whoosh! As soon as he entered the room, Ning-yu felt a gust of wind blowing against his face. The gust of wind was extremely terrifying. If an ordinary peak stage Saint Immortal expert was unlucky enough to be hit by the gust of wind, he would be crippled even if he did not die. Not bad. Void Leopard casually found a chair to sit on and said to Ning-yu, "To be able to block the attack of the Nirvana Divine Formation so easily, it means that your strength is much stronger than that trash Su-hee." Nirvana Divine Formation. Ning-yu slightly unleashed his perception. As expected, there was an extremely terrifying formation in the room. This formation was much more terrifying than the indestructible divine formation that he encountered in the Hong clan. Now, tell me where you came from. Void Leopard's right hand lightly knocked on the table and said faintly, "Why did you enter the Su clan? Do you want to spy on the Su clan's secrets?" While they were talking, Void Leopard suddenly unleashed his aura. together with the impact from the Nirvana divine formation. He suddenly pressed against Ningyu. Recently, it could be said that the Su clan was in troubled times. It was unknown who leaked the news that the Su clan knew the whereabouts of the Tree of World. This situation could be described as a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. How precious was the Tree of World! Even heavenly monarch experts could not resist the Tree of World. Therefore, in the past few months, there would be experts risking their lives to enter the Su clan to spy on the Tree of World. Obviously, Void Leopard also regarded Ningyu as the person who was trying to spy on the Su clan. You misunderstood. I am not trying to spy on the Su clan's secrets. Ningyu casually waved his hand and said faintly, I only have one purpose in coming here, and that is to look for Su-ing. Swish. Seeing that Ningyu easily blocked his aura, Void Leopard's expression changed slightly. However, he was even more shocked when Ningyu mentioned Su-ing. You still dare to say that you're not trying to spy on the Su clan's secrets? Void Leopard's expression turned cold, and he said fiercely, I don't care what you are trying to say. Anyway, if you dare to barge into the Su clan, there is only one outcome for you, death. Nirvana Divine Formation, activate. With a low shout, the Void Leopard completely activated the Nirvana Divine Formation. Void Leopard had absolute confidence. Although the Nirvana Divine Formation was not the Su clan's strongest formation, it could be ranked in the top 5 of all the Su clan's formations. Being trapped in the Nirvana Divine Formation, unless Ningyu could squeeze into the top 100 of the Heavenly Monarch substitute list, he would definitely be captured. Top 100 of the Heavenly Monarch substitute list? Was that possible? The answer was obviously that it was possible. What nonsense is this? Break it for me. Ningyu casually threw a few punches. Crack, crack, crack. A crisp sound was heard. In just 3 punches, Ningyu had blasted the Nirvana Divine Formation's 3 formation cores. The destruction of the formation cores meant that the Nirvana Divine Formation had lost its power. How is this possible? Void Leopard yelled, his face filled with disbelief. There's nothing that's impossible. Ningyu came in front of Void Leopard and said, I will ask you a few questions. I hope you can answer them honestly. Don't even think about it. Void Leopard said coldly, revealing an unruly expression. Slap. Ningyu raised his right hand and slapped Void Leopard's cheek. Crack. This slap directly knocked out several of Void Leopard's teeth. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. You have to understand that even if I kill you and devour your memories, I can still find out what I want to know. Ningyu said indifferently, Answer me, where is Su-ing? Void Leopard's expression was gloomy and uncertain, as though he was having an intense mental struggle. A moment later, Void Leopard gritted his teeth and said, Su-ing is imprisoned in the Su clan's heavenly prison. Without the Patriarch's key, no one can enter. Heavenly prison? Ningyu's expression turned grave. For a super force like the Su clan, the construction of their heavenly prison would definitely be very complicated and sturdy. Even if a heavenly monarch expert entered, it would be hard for him to escape. Chapter 2300. Seeing Ningyu's solemn expression, Void Leopard's eyes moved, feeling that the opportunity had arrived. Sorting out his thoughts, Void Leopard said, The Su family's sky prison is incomparably dangerous. Without the ancestor's key, you can forget about entering in your lifetime, unless, speaking up to here, Void Leopard paused slightly and did not continue. Although Void Leopard did not say it, the meaning was self-evident. Let Ningyu beg him. However, Ningyu's actions exceeded Void Leopard's expectations. He did ask, but what he asked was not how to enter the Su family's sky prison. I heard that your father is in charge of the Su family's pill room? Ningyu withdrew his thoughts, looked at Void Leopard, and said coolly, Think of a way to call your father over. I have something to ask him. Today, the Sioux family has an esteemed guest. My father should be going to accompany that esteemed guest. Void Leopard revealed a troubled expression. Then forget it. Since you can't call your father over, it means that keeping you alive is already useless. Ningyu shrugged, then clenched his right hand into a fist and smashed toward Void Leopard's head. Chi-chi! Fist winds howled. Ningyu's fist arrived before Void Leopard's head in the blink of an eye. I can bring you to the Sioux family's pill room. At the critical moment, Void Leopard hurriedly shouted. Swoosh! Hearing this, when Ningyu's fist was still a finger length away from Void Leopard, it suddenly stopped. Who? Seeing Ningyu stop, Void Leopard could not help but let out a long sigh, thinking that it was a close call. Fortunately, he was quick-witted. Otherwise, this day next year would be his death anniversary. My father is in charge of the Sioux family's pill room, so I can come and go freely. In order to gain Ningyu's trust, Void Leopard hurriedly took out a key from his bosom and said, The Sioux family's pill room has a total of 3 floors. This key can open the door to the 3rd floor. Taking the key from Void Leopard's hand, Ningyu unleashed his perception and started to probe inside the key. As time passed, Ningyu's expression became increasingly grave. There was no other reason. He sensed an extremely terrifying aura from the key. This aura was extremely terrifying. Even though he was ranked 5th on the Heaven Lord substitute list, he still felt a deep sense of fear. This key was given to me by my father. There's no mistaking it. Seemingly noticing the trace of unhappiness on Ningyu's face, Void Leopard hurriedly explained. There's nothing wrong with the key. Now, open your mind and let me control it. Ningyu put away the key and said indifferently to the Void Leopard. This all right. Void Leopard hesitated, but in the end he still chose to compromise and let his mind completely relax. Whoosh! Ningyu separated a bit of his soul force and drilled into the Void Leopard's heart. Hiss! Feeling the soul force that had suddenly appeared in his heart, Void Leopard could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. His complexion turned somewhat pale. Void Leopard knew that as long as Ningyu activated the soul force in his heart, he would definitely die. In other words, his fate was now completely under Ningyu's control. Very good. Ningyu nodded his head in satisfaction. Then he turned around and walked out of the room, saying, Lead the way to the Sioux clan's elixir room. Yes, even his life was in Ningyu's hands. How could Void Leopard dare to be negligent? He hurriedly jogged to the door and opened it, leading the way for Ningyu. Creak! Outside the room, Suhi paced back and forth with an abnormally anxious expression. To Suhi, he wanted Ningyu to be killed by Void Leopard, but he was also afraid that after Ningyu was killed, he would become Void Leopard's target. Suhi's heart was filled with complex emotions. Just at this moment, the tightly shut door was slowly pushed open. Suhi looked over and saw Void Leopard walking at the very front, while Ningyu followed by Void Leopard's side. It's over. Suhi's expression became very ugly. It was obvious that he thought that Ningyu was being controlled by Void Leopard. All of you guard here. If someone comes to find me, just say that I'm in closed-door training and it's not convenient to meet people. Void Leopard did not even look at Suhi. He gave a few instructions and then left. What's going on? Seeing Void Leopard's actions, Suhi scratched his head. He was a little confused. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and follow them. While Suhi was in a daze, the 2-horned demonic beast hidden in his body kicked his internal organs and said in a deep voice, If you lose them, I'll take your little life. Okay. I'll go now. He did not dare to disobey the 2-horned demonic beast. His feet stepped on the ground and hurriedly followed behind Ningyu and Void Leopard. Because Void Leopard's position in the Sioux clan was very high, many people greeted him along the way. Of course, the Void Leopard maintained a cold and gloomy expression, shuttling left and right. 10 minutes later, Void Leopard finally stopped. Pointing at the 3-story building in front, Void Leopard said, "This is the elixir room. There are a total of 3 floors. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and go in." Ningyu interrupted Void Leopard's words and transmitted, "You should know what should be said and what shouldn't be said." Understood. Void Leopard nodded his head and immediately walked towards the building. Halt! The elixir room was an important place of the Su clan. There would definitely be experts guarding it. This was impossible. The one guarding the elixir room was an old man called Su Kai. Su Kai stretched out his right hand and said coolly, "Su clan's important place. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter." "Uncle Kai, it's me, Void Leopard," Void Leopard said. "Void Leopard?" Su Kai frowned slightly, seemingly recalling if there was such a person. After a while, Su Kai did not seem to remember who Void Leopard was. He said in a deep voice, "Without the token, no one can enter." Hearing Su Kai's words, Void Leopard's face was full of black lines. He really could not understand why his father would send Su Kai to guard the elixir room. In such a huge Su clan, everyone knew that Su Kai had amnesia. Basically, he would immediately forget the words said to him in front. "Here's your token." With no other choice, Void Leopard could only take out a token and throw it to Su Kai. Originally, Void Leopard did not want to expose the token, because as long as he took out the token, it would definitely be recorded. If Ningyu were to wreak havoc in the elixir room, it would all be on his head. However, because of Su Kai's amnesia, he had to show the token before he could enter. After checking the token, Su Kai placed his right hand on the stone door and exerted force. Creak! The stone door slowly opened. "Let's go." Just as the stone door was pushed open, Void Leopard took the lead and walked in. Ningyu did not hesitate. He followed closely behind Void Leopard and tried his best to conceal his aura, because he felt a terrifying aura from Su Kai's body. As expected, Su Kai's true cultivation should be half-step Heaven Monarch. Ningyu did not wish to expose himself too early. After all, this was the Su clan. Even if his strength doubled, it would be hard to escape when facing the numerous experts of the Su clan. The plan now was to increase his strength as soon as possible and strive to increase his cultivation by several times before he was discovered. Go straight to the 3rd floor. After entering the elixir room, Ningyu did not waste any time and headed straight for the 3rd floor. Not long later, Ningyu, Void Leopard, and Suhi arrived at the entrance of the 3rd floor. Void Leopard, you can even bring outsiders here? I think you are tired of living. Chapter 2301. Swoosh! He looked in the direction of the voice. Ningyu saw that at the entrance of the 3rd floor, a young man in gray was leaning against the door with an evil smile. "It's my right to bring in whoever I want. What does it have to do with you?" Void Leopard's expression turned extremely cold as he said fiercely, "Siaming, don't be arrogant in front of me just because someone is backing you up. If you anger me, I'll take your life." "Oh, you want my life?" The young man called Siaming smiled and said, "I want to see if you dare to kill me today. A good dog doesn't block the way. I have something important to do today. I don't have time to mess around with you here." Void Leopard said coldly, "You can come in, but you have to get through me first." As he spoke, Siaming stomped on the ground and charged at Void Leopard at a terrifying speed. Chi-chi! Siaming's speed was so fast that he arrived in front of Void Leopard in an instant. Bang! At the critical moment, Void Leopard had no choice but to extend his right hand and collide with Siaming's fist. The two collided. A crisp sound rang out. Siaming stood on the spot and didn't move. On the other hand, the Void Leopard retreated dozens of feet before stabilizing itself. Poochie! Blood spurted out from his mouth. Void Leopard's aura began to decline rapidly. Overestimating yourself. After defeating Void Leopard in one move, Xiaming shrugged and said, "If it wasn't for your cheap father, I would have killed you long ago. Why would I leave you alive until now? I was just worrying that no one would take the blame for me. You came. Just nice. The Su clan will blame the loss of the medicinal pills on you." Puff. Hearing Xiaming's words, Void Leopard spurted out another mouthful of blood. His already weak aura became even weaker. Now he finally understood. Xiaming's goal in entering the elixir room was similar to Ningyu's, to snatch the medicinal pills. The only difference was that Ningyu came in openly, while Xiaming came in secretly. "I'll take these medicinal pills first. You guys stay behind and take the blame." Xiaming fished out a space ring from his bosom and shook it. Then he tore open space and dove in. Xiao. However, how could Ningyu allow Xiaming to leave? His purpose in coming to the elixir room was to obtain elixirs, not to take the blame for Xiaming. Ningyu's figure flickered as he punched at the void. The next moment, a miserable shriek that sounded like a pig being slaughtered came from the void. Kacha! Immediately after, Xiaming was blasted out of the void and landed heavily on the ground, his face flat on the ground. Some of his teeth had even fallen out. "Your strength." Xiaming struggled to get up from the ground and pointed at Ningyu. His face was filled with disbelief as he said, "How can he be so strong?" "Hand over the pill, and I can spare your life." Ningyu stepped forward and said calmly, "Ha ha ha." Hearing this, Xiaming threw his head back and laughed maniacally. After laughing, Xiaming changed the topic and said coldly, "The pill is in my hands. Come and take it if you can. To tell you the truth, if you dare to take another step forward, I will destroy it." To intimidate Ningyu, Xiaming held the space ring in his left hand and a terrifying flame appeared on the tip of his right hand. It was obvious. If Ningyu dared to take another step forward, Xiaming would definitely burn the space ring and destroy the pills inside. Don't struggle pointlessly. Ningyu maintained his calm expression. He took half a step back, rubbed his nose, and said, "If you have the ability, then destroy the ring." Xiaming did not think that Ningyu would not fall for it. For a moment he was in a dilemma. Destroy the ring? What a joke. Xiaming was not an idiot. Once the ring was destroyed, Ningyu would definitely kill him. With the ring in hand, he had the right to negotiate with Ningyu. "How about this? We split the pills in the ring in half." Xiaming's eyes flickered, and he said in a low voice, "No one is taking advantage of you." "No, it all belongs to me." Ningyu shook his head and said, "You have no choice in front of me." "All right, I will destroy it." Seeing that Ningyu was unmoved, Xiaming gritted his teeth and the flame on the tip of his right hand gradually approached the space ring. Bang! In the blink of an eye, a cold light suddenly flashed past and hit Xiaming's wrist. The pain from his wrist forced Xiaming to throw the space ring away. Swoosh! How could Ningyu miss such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? He hurriedly dashed out and reached for the space ring at top speed. Oh no! Just as his hand was about to grab the ring, Ningyu suddenly felt a terrifying aura coming towards him. There was no time to think. Ningyu used his right hand to grab the space ring and his left hand to draw the red demon sword. He slashed with it. Clang! The red demon sword collided with something hard and gave off a crisp sound. A soft sound of surprise sounded in this area. Swish! Ningyu seized the opportunity and immediately retreated. Buzz! Buzz! Subsequently, the void split open and an old man slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Sukai! Seeing the old man's original appearance, Void Leopard and Xiaming felt that it was somewhat unbelievable. They did not expect that Sukai would actually appear. One had to know that in all these years, Sukai had never entered the pill room before. Why did he come today? All sorts of doubts arose in Void Leopard and Xiaming's mind. However, relatively speaking, Void Leopard's expression was still fine. After all, he did not make a move to snatch the ring and was a victim. Perhaps Su Kai would forcefully make a move and kill both Ningyu and Xieming. Hand over the space ring, and I will spare your life. Su Kai's expression was indifferent as he stared at Ningyu coldly and said in a cold voice, "Otherwise I will take your life. The cultivation of a half-step heaven lord is not enough to take my life." Ningyu kept the space ring and said indifferently, "If you advance to the heaven lord realm, I might be a little afraid. But now you are not a match for me." "Is that so?" Su Kai raised his eyebrows and immediately waved his hand. A huge formation enveloped the entire elixir room. "In the god-slaying demon formation, my strength can be increased by several times, but your strength will be decreased by several times." The corner of Su Kai's mouth curled up, and he said coldly, "Hand over the space ring, and I will spare your life." The Su clan's fourth-ranked killing formation. God-slaying demon formation. The god-slaying demon formation had a very significant feature, which was that it could increase the combat power of the person who set up the formation and weaken the combat power of the other martial artists inside the formation. To put it simply, Su Kai's strength could be increased by 3 or 4 times, while Ningyu and Void Leopard's strength would be decreased by several times. Unless a Heaven Lord expert appeared, it was very difficult for others to be a match for Su Kai. "Ningyu, don't worry. I have a way to break the god-slaying demon formation." Chapter 2302. Are you sure you have a way to break the god-slaying demon formation? Ningyu asked doubtfully when he heard the twin-horned demonic beast's words. To be honest, Ningyu doubted that the god-slaying demon formation could be broken by the god-slaying demon formation. After all, the god-slaying demon formation was ranked 4th in the Su family. No one could break it unless they were a formation master. Why would I lie? The god-slaying demon formation felt that Ningyu had insulted him. Lord of Heaven Rong is a formation master. I've been by his side for so many years. I know a thing or two about formations. All right, I'll trust you this once. Ningyu twisted his neck and drew the red demon sword. Stepping on the ground, he charged at Su Kai. Although Su Kai was a half-step heavenly lord, Ningyu was not afraid. After all, no matter how strong Su Kai was, he could not make it into the top 10 of the heavenly lord substitute list. The only thing that Ningyu was afraid of was the god-slaying demon formation. As long as the god-slaying demon formation could be broken by the god-slaying demon formation, Su Kai would be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Humph! You overestimate yourself. Su Kai snorted when he saw Ningyu charging at him. He gathered the immortal qi in his body on his fist and punched out. Qi! Qi! Su Kai's punch was extremely powerful. The space cracked, and a terrifying shock wave spread out. Bang! In a flash, Ningyu's fist inevitably collided with Su Kai's fist. The two collided. A crisp sound was heard. Ningyu and Su Kai both retreated dozens of feet. Judging from the distance they retreated, Su Kai was obviously at a disadvantage. That was because he retreated much further than Ningyu. So powerful? After that one move, Su Kai's expression turned extremely ugly. His heart was in turmoil. One had to know. He had used 100% of his strength in that move, and he had even mobilized the power of the god-slaying demon formation. Under such circumstances, he still wasn't able to defeat Ningyu and wasn't even injured. It was obvious how powerful Ningyu was. You don't seem too strong. Ningyu gripped the red demon sword and looked at Su Kai with interest. I want to see what you can do to me if I don't hand over the space ring today. Just now, I only used 10% of the god-slaying demon formation's power. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Su Kai waved his hands repeatedly and took out a storage bag from his robes. He threw it directly into the eye of the god, vanquishing demon array. Rumble! The god-slaying demon array exploded. Buzz. Several extremely frightening energy fluctuations gushed out from the eye of the formation and surged towards Su Kai. I'll show you the true power of the god-slaying demon formation. Su Kai growled, then opened his mouth wide in an attempt to swallow the energy that was rushing towards him. Xiao, however, at this moment, a shadow suddenly rushed out of Suhi's body. The double-horned demonic beast. The double-horned demonic beast was none other than the double-horned demonic beast. The double-horned demonic beast had said that it could break the god-slaying demon formation, so it naturally wouldn't go back on its word. Its body spun rapidly and arrived next to the eye of the god-slaying demon formation at a terrifying speed. Crack! In the next instant, his body collided with the eye of the formation. Immediately, the eye of the god-slaying demon formation shattered. Oh no! Su Kai's pupils constricted as he felt the eye of the formation shatter. His face was full of fear. Su Kai was relying on the god-slaying demon formation. If the god-slaying demon formation was broken, he was destined to die today. After all, without the power of the god-slaying demon formation, Su Kai had no chance of winning against Ningyu. Hold on. At this critical moment, Su Kai raised his head and roared. At the same time, the energy in his body continuously flew towards the eye of the formation, trying to rebuild the eye of the god-slaying demon formation. Good timing! However, Su Kai was obviously giving the double-horned demonic beast a chance. How could the double-horned demonic beast let go of such a rare opportunity? The devouring power in its body gushed out crazily. The double-horned demonic beast would devour as much energy as it could. Damn it! Su Kai was not a fool. He knew very well that the double-horned demonic beast was devouring the energy he released. However, he had no other choice. He could either repair the eye of the formation as soon as possible or be killed by Ningyu and the double-horned demonic beast. It was obvious. Su Kai chose to put his life on the line and repair the eye of the formation. Kill. Dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. How could Ningyu allow Su Kai to repair the eye of the formation? He immediately attacked with the red demon sword. The energy in his body gathered on the red demon sword as he stabbed out. Poof! As Su Kai was fighting the double-horned demonic beast while repairing the eye of the formation. Therefore, he did not pay too much attention to Ningyu's actions. It was this carelessness that caused Ningyu to stab his heart with a red demon sword. You! Looking down at the red flying sword in his heart, Su Kai stretched out his right hand and pointed at Ningyu with a look of disbelief. Devour! Ningyu ignored Su Kai. He controlled the red demon sword and let the red demon and the dark emperor devour Su Kai. Ningyu was not a fool. The energy in his body had already reached a critical point. If he wanted to increase his strength, there was no other way except to become a sage immortal. Therefore, the energy in Su Kai's body could only be devoured by the red demon and the dark emperor. Ha, thank you. Inside the red demon sword, the red demon and the dark emperor were very excited. Su Kai was a half-step Heavenly Lord expert. If they devoured him, their strength would definitely increase significantly. Crack! While the Dark Emperor and the Red Demon Sword were devouring Su Kai, the double-horned demonic beast had already completely destroyed the god-slaying demon formation. Furthermore, not only did the double-horned demonic beast destroy the god-slaying demon formation, it even kept it in the crystal ball. The power is not too bad. After playing with the crystal ball for a while, the double-horned demonic beast flicked its wrist and threw the crystal ball at Ningyu. Pa! Ningyu reacted quickly and caught the crystal ball steadily. I'll leave this god-slaying demon formation to you. Seeing that Ningyu had caught the crystal ball, the double-horned demonic beast said, In the future, if you meet a heavenly monarch realm expert, you should be able to block one move with this god-slaying demon formation. Why don't you keep such a precious thing for yourself? Ning Yu looked at the crystal ball in his hand and asked doubtfully, "Your strength is only around the 25th rank on the Heaven Monarch substitute list. With the God-slaying demon formation, you can compete with the top 2 in the future. With the God-slaying demon formation, you can fight against the top 2 martial artists in the future. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" The double-horned demonic beast rolled its eyes and said, "Don't hand it over." There must be something wrong with this. Ning Yu released his perception and began to carefully examine the crystal ball. "I'm going to take it. This time it didn't matter." Ning Yu immediately cursed. No wonder the double-horned demonic beast didn't want the god-slaying demon formation. It turned out that the god-slaying demon formation was consuming energy at every moment. Furthermore, the speed at which the god-slaying demon formation consumed energy had reached a terrifying level. To put it simply, it was because he couldn't afford to raise the double-horned demonic beast, so he was forced to hand it over to Ning Yu. "All right, you've taken all the pills on the 3rd floor of the pill room. I'll go take a look on the next 2 floors." Chapter 2303. It is indeed up to no good. Ning Yu took out a heavenly pill and inserted it into the crystal ball as he watched the 2-horned demonic beast leave. When he killed Heavenly Monarch Proudwind in the Cloud Valley, Ning Yu had obtained 100 heavenly elixirs. The energy contained in 1 heavenly elixir could allow a Heavenly Monarch expert to recover to his peak state. Just because the double-horned demonic beast did not have enough energy to feed the god-slaying demon formation did not mean that Ning Yu did not. That's a bargain for me. Ning Yu's lips curled up as he kept the crystal ball. Ning Yu had purposely cursed in front of the double-horned demonic beast. After all, if he did not do that, the double-horned demonic beast would not be willing to hand over the god-slaying demon formation to him. Let's see what's in the interspatial ring. He did not think too much about it. Ning Yu unleashed his perception and entered the interspatial ring to probe. SSS. As soon as his perception entered the interspatial ring, Ning Yu gasped. Heavenly elixirs. A large number of heavenly elixirs. He estimated that there were at least 1,000 heavenly elixirs in the interspatial ring. About 10,000 culminating heaven elixirs. There were even more than 100,000 lower heaven elixirs. Ning Yu was dumbfounded by the number of heavenly elixirs. The Su clan was indeed the leader of the 3 major clans. Just a single elixir room had so many elixirs. One could imagine just how vast was the wealth of the Su clan. Ning Yu did not get carried away by the joy of so many heavenly elixirs. He looked around and finally stopped on a black box. This black box gave him a very mysterious feeling. Go. With a thought, Ning Yu separated a portion of his soul power and slowly approached the black box. SSS. SSS. However, before Ning Yu's soul power could approach the black box, it was devoured by the devouring power that shot out from the box. Could it be a devouring Dharma treasure? Ning Yu frowned and decided to separate a portion of his immortal energy to approach the black box. SSS. 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 The results were surprisingly consistent. The immortal chi that Ning Yu released was also devoured by the devouring force that shot out from the black box. This is a little troublesome. Ning Yu frowned slightly. He could sense that whatever was inside the black box was definitely not ordinary. Ning rode. After thinking about it, Ning Yu started to contact Ning Lu. After all, Ning Lu's main body was a world tree. Perhaps he had a way. Whoosh! Ning Lu leaped out of the red devil sword and entered the space ring. Go! Looking at the black box, Ning Lu forced out a drop of blood essence and threw it at the black box. Kacha! As soon as the blood came into contact with the black box, it suddenly split open. Shoo! A white cold light suddenly shot out from the black box, trying to escape. Pa! How could Ning Lu allow it to escape? In an instant, Ning Lu turned into a blur, caught up to the cold white light and grabbed it. After grabbing the cold white light, Ning Lu flew out of the spatial ring and arrived before Ning Yu. Elixir. Ning Yu was slightly stunned when he saw the white elixir in Ning Lu's palm. He then asked, "What elixir is this?" "This elixir is called the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir," Ning Lu replied. Sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir? Ning Yu was puzzled. The so-called sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir means that if you swallow it during your tribulation transcendence, it will help you transcend the tribulation. Ning Lu explained, "You're currently a half-step sacred immortal. I think you can go and become a sacred immortal now. This is the Su family. There shouldn't be a way to become a sacred immortal here, right?" Ning Yu frowned. Ning Yu is not that stupid to undergo tribulation transcendence in the Su family. Even if there was a sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir, Ning Yu would not dare to take the risk. If he was discovered by a heavenly lord of the Su family, wouldn't he be in trouble? "Don't worry about that." Ning Lu waved his hand and said, "Swallow the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir first." "All right." Ning Yu did not argue with Ning Lu. Since Ning Lu wanted him to swallow it, it meant that the effects of the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir should be very good. Crack! The elixir entered his stomach. Ning Yu only felt a terrifying energy swimming back and forth in his body. Immediately after, an illusory figure darted out of his body. This, Ning Yu's mouth opened slightly as he looked at the illusory figure in front of him. His face was filled with shock. There was no other reason. Ning Yu realized that the illusory figure in front of him seemed to be his clone. Be it in terms of aura or appearance, it was a living Ning Yu too. This is the effect of the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir. Ning Lu patted Ning Yu too and said, "Crack." As soon as Ning Lu patted Ning Yu too tore through the void and disappeared. Where did he go? Ning Yu was puzzled. Who knows where he was teleported to? Ning Lu shrugged and said, "Don't worry about it. Hurry up and summon the tribulation cloud. We'll undergo the tribulation here." "All right." Ning Yu nodded and summoned the great tribulation of the Saint Immortal Realm. Rumble. In the sky above Kuin Su City, a dense black tribulation cloud suddenly formed. After the tribulation cloud formed, it did not descend. After hesitating for a while, the tribulation cloud flew into the distance. Someone is using the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir to transcend the tribulation. Meanwhile, in the guest hall of the Su clan, an old man in a white robe frowned and murmured, "Could it be someone from the Zhao clan or the Mo clan who's transcending the tribulation? Hee hee, looks like I didn't come to Kuin Su City in vain." The martial artist opposite the white-robed old man smiled and said, "Before entering Kuin Su City, I already found a qualified genius. The Su family should also have one or two. With the addition of the Mo and Zhao families, we should be able to complete this mission with flying colors." If Ning Yu was here, he would definitely notice that the martial artist opposite the old man was Rong Tianjun. Get the people from the Zhao clan and the Mo clan here. Rong Tianjun withdrew his thoughts and said calmly, "Yes." The old man in a white robe dared not delay. He immediately tore open the void and headed toward the Mo and Zhao clans. Rumble. Ning Yu was unaware of the conversation between the old man and Rong Tianjun. He did not feel anything after triggering the great tribulation of the Saint Immortal Realm. The sky-stealing, sun-changing pill had transferred the tribulation cloud that he was supposed to endure to Ning Yu too. In other words, Ning Yu too was the one undergoing the tribulation right now. As for Ning Yu, all he had to do was wait patiently. Once the tribulation was over, he would enjoy the baptism of the tribulation alone. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. During this hour, Ning Yu was bored to death. All he could do was wait patiently. Crack! When the second hour arrived, the space in front of Ning Yu cracked open. A golden pool of lightning appeared in front of him. Tribulation liquid. Ning Yu was delighted when he saw the golden pool of lightning. Without wasting any time, Ning Yu dived into the pool of lightning and devoured the tribulation liquid crazily. Bang! As the tribulation liquid decreased, Ning Yu's aura skyrocketed rapidly. In just a few seconds, his aura skyrocketed from a half-step Saint Immortal to a Saint Immortal. Moreover, the speed at which his aura skyrocketed did not slow down. Bang! Bang! Another 2 dull thuds were heard. Chapter 2304. Phew! Feeling the change in his aura, Ning Yu let out a sigh of relief and leaped out of the pool. The sky-stealing, sun-changing pill was indeed effective. Without the sky-stealing, sun-changing pill, it was impossible for Ning Yu to pass the great tribulation of the Saint Immortal Realm and advance to the late-stage Saint Immortal Realm. After all, this was Kuan-Su City. Ning Yu did not have the guts to undergo the tribulation in Kuan-Su City. Gulp. On the other side, Su He and Su Bao swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Ning Yu, who was a half-step Saint Immortal, had already given them a lot of pressure. Now that Ning Yu had advanced to the late-stage Saint Immortal Realm, one could imagine how much his strength had increased. Ignoring Su He and the others' shock, Ning Yu flicked his wrist and directly stored the remaining lightning tribulation fluid in the lightning pool. I'm going to take it. However, as soon as Ning Yu kept the heavenly tribulation liquid, he heard an exclamation. The double-horned demon beast. It was obvious that the double-horned demon beast had already taken away all the elixirs on the first and second floor of the elixir room. Initially, the double-horned demon beast wanted to show off. Who would have thought that he would feel a palpitating aura from Ning Yu? You! The twin-horned demonic beast stared at Ning Yu, and it even stuttered when it spoke. What do you mean? Ning Yu rolled his eyes and took out a few bottles of heavenly tribulation liquid. He threw them to the double-horned demon beast and said, Since you've helped me a lot, these heavenly tribulation liquid belong to you. Pa! The double-horned demon beast was shocked after receiving the heavenly tribulation liquid, because he realized the heavenly tribulation liquid produced by Ning Yu's great tribulation of the Saint Immortal Realm contained energy that was comparable to some heavenly monarch realm tribulations. Freak, what a freak! The double-horned demon beast quickly returned to normal. Ning Yu was someone that Heavenly Lord Rong valued, and Heavenly Lord Rong had always been a good judge of character. In the immortal court, there were very few people that could be praised by Heavenly Lord Rong. Where are we going now? The twin-horned demonic beast looked at Ning Yu and asked after it sorted out its thoughts. Su Clan's heavenly prison. Ning Yu waved his hand, grabbed Su He and Su Bao, and headed straight for the heavenly prison of the Su family. Naturally, Ning Yu did not dare to go to the Su Clan's prison before he advanced to the Mastery Saint Immortal stage. After all, that place was extremely dangerous, and the slightest carelessness could lead to death. But now, Ning Yu had absolute confidence. Before he advanced to the Saint Immortal Realm, he was ranked 5th on the Heavenly Monarch Substitute ranking. Now that he had advanced to the Mastery Saint Immortal Realm, if nothing unexpected happened, he might even be ranked in the top 3 on the Heavenly Monarch Substitute ranking. How terrifying were the top 3 of the Heaven Monarch Substitute list! It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the top 3 absolute prodigies on the Heaven Monarch Substitute list were all capable of defeating ordinary Heaven Monarchs. Although he had never fought with a Heaven Monarch expert before, Ning Yu was almost certain that it was a Heaven Monarch expert. Even if he were to face a Heaven Monarch expert, he would still be fearless. At the very least, he could escape. Shu. With Su He and Su Bao leading the way, Ningyu and the others soon arrived at the Sioux clan's prison. The Sioux clan's prison was heavily guarded. Obviously, they would not let Ningyu and the others enter so easily. There were 4 martial artists guarding the prison. They were known as the Sioux clan's 4 great guardian deities. First guardian deity was at the peak of the half-step heaven monarch realm. He was only half a step away from advancing to the heavenly monarch realm. Second guardian deity was at the half-step heaven monarch realm and was very powerful. Third guardian deity and fourth guardian deity were at the peak of the saint immortal realm. Their strength was also unfathomable. The heavenly prison is an important place. Without the old ancestors' token, no one is allowed to enter. The 4 guardian deities took a step forward and glanced at Ningyu and the others with cold eyes. They said in a deep voice, "If you know what's good for you, leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will be captured and sent to the law enforcement hall. You will suffer a lot. We have important matters to attend to in the heavenly prison. Please make an exception." Su, he was very discerning. He quickly ran to the 4 guardian deities and secretly stuffed an interspatial ring into their hands. "Go in, but you can only stay inside for 10 minutes. After weighing the interspatial ring, the 4 guardian deities impatiently waved their hands and said, 10 minutes later, all of you are to get out." "All right." Suhi lowered his head and bowed. Seeing the conversation between Suhi and the 4 guardian deities, Ningyu's mouth was slightly agape while his face was filled with disbelief. There was such a thing? The heavenly prison was an important place. How could one simply take out some bribes to enter? Seemingly sensing Ningyu's doubt, Suhi explained softly, "The Sioux clan's heavenly prison has a total of 4 regions. The first 3 regions are for ordinary criminals, and the 4 guardian deities will naturally close one eye. As for the 4th region, there are other guards. Without the old ancestor's key, no matter how capable you are, you will never be able to enter." "I see." Ningyu nodded and had a sudden realization. No wonder the 4 guardian deities were willing to give way. It turned out that there was a checkpoint at the back. Creak! The heavy door of the heavenly prison slowly opened. Ningyu, Su-He, Su-Bao, and the twin-horned demonic beast. The 4 of them entered the heavenly prison side by side. He, someone else came in. I don't know how he offended the Sioux clan, but as long as he enters the heavenly prison, he can forget about leaving for the rest of his life. Forget about leaving for the rest of his life? As long as your clan is willing to pay the heavenly pills, you can easily leave. Otherwise, why do you think the Sioux clan has so many heavenly pills? That's true. However, people with that kind of energy will not be caught. As soon as Ningyu and the others entered the heavenly prison, they heard discussions. These discussions were all from the cultivators imprisoned in the heavenly prison. Ningyu's expression was indifferent. He did not care about the discussions around him as he slowly advanced forward. Ningyu's speed was not fast. In fact, it could be said that he was very slow. There was no other reason. Ningyu needed to understand the situation here in case he had no way out when he left. Stop! Not long later, Ningyu and Su-He arrived at the entrance of the 4th region. It was just as Su-He had said. There was a middle-aged man sitting cross-legged at the entrance of the 4th region. Hiss! Ningyu gasped when he sensed the aura emanating from the middle-aged man. Heavenly Monarch. The middle-aged man's cultivation was most likely at the heavenly monarch realm. Although Ningyu was confident that he would not be at a disadvantage against a heavenly monarch, he was still a little worried if he really had to fight against a heavenly monarch. Stop! The middle-aged man glanced at Su-He and Su-Bao, then stopped at Ningyu and said indifferently, "The heavenly prison is an important place. It's better that you don't go in. Let's take someone." Su-He calmed down and said indifferently according to Ningyu's hint, "The Patriarch wants to see Su-Ing and asked us to take her away." "The Patriarch wants to see Su-Ing?" The middle-aged man was slightly startled. He had thought that Su-hee and the others were troublemakers. Who would have thought that they would directly mention the patriarch? Why don't I know that if you want to take Su-ing away, you have to bring the patriarch's token? Chapter 2305. This, Sui hesitated and shifted his gaze to Ningyu to seek Ning Yu's opinion. You don't seem to be from the Su clan. The middle-aged man had been paying attention to the changes in Ning Yu's expression. When Su-hee looked at Ningyu, he said, "Tell me honestly, are you a spy sent by the other two clans?" Boom! As he spoke, the middle-aged man suddenly unleashed his aura and pressed down on Ningyu. Humph! Facing the middle-aged man's oppressive aura, Ningyu snorted coldly and released the aura within his body as well. Chi! The two auras collided and a sizzling sound was heard. Ningyu and the middle-aged man stood on the spot and did not retreat at all. The middle-aged man was a little surprised. He did not expect the young man in front of him to be so powerful. Even a heavenly monarch expert like him could not gain the upper hand in a battle of aura. Very well. You've successfully angered me. The middle-aged man twisted his neck and said, "If you have the old ancestor's token, I can spare your life today. If you don't, I'm sorry, but I can only take your life." Su-hee hand over the token. Ningyu shrugged and turned to look at Su-hee. He was slightly stunned when he heard Ningyu's words. Then he seemed to have thought of something and quickly took out a token. After receiving the token from Su-hee, Ningyu approached the middle-aged man step by step. "I'd like to see what you're up to." The middle-aged man crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at Ningyu with interest. To the middle-aged man, even if Ningyu's strength was formidable, he was still fearless. After all, he was a heavenly monarch expert, while the other party was only a late-stage saint immortal. Since ancient times, a genius who could fight a heavenly monarch at the late stage saint immortal only existed in the immortal court. Here, after a while, Ningyu stopped a few steps away from the middle-aged man. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the token to the middle-aged man. Pa! The middle-aged man's eyes and hands were sharp, and he caught the token steadily. This isn't the patriarch's token. He'd just caught the command token when the middle-aged man shook his head and said in a cold voice, "I knew there was something wrong with you, kid. Today, I'll let you know how formidable I am." The word harm fell. The middle-aged man took a step forward, clenched his right hand into a fist, and punched at Ningyu. "Be careful." Seeing the middle-aged man attack Ningyu, the twin-horned monster's pupils constricted, and it shouted in a low voice, "It's fine." However, as the person involved, Ningyu was not nervous at all. He threw out the crystal ball, and with a thought, he controlled the crystal ball to explode. Boom! As the crystal ball exploded, the god-slaying demon formation was formed in the area. What the hell? Seeing Ningyu take out the god-slaying demon array, the twin-horned demonic beast was dumbfounded. You should know, a peerless formation like the god-slaying demon array would be very difficult to activate without terrifying energy. The fact that Ningyu took out the god-slaying demon array and activated it to the limit meant that the energy in his body had reached a terrifying level. I was right. The middle-aged man's expression was extremely cold. He shouted in a deep voice, stealing the Su clan's god-slaying demon array, "You won't be able to escape today. Rise." Ning, you didn't waste any words with the middle-aged man. In order to activate the god-slaying demon array, he didn't hesitate to use up 10 heaven pellets. What did 10 heaven pellets mean? A single heaven pellet was enough to instantly replenish the energy consumed by a heaven monarch expert. Even though Ningyu had used up 10 heaven pellets, he could only maintain the god-slaying demon array for 10 minutes. In other words, Ningyu had to get rid of the middle-aged man within 10 minutes. Otherwise, he would need to use up a large amount of heaven pellets. Fortunately, in the god-slaying demon array, Ningyu's strength would be greatly increased. while the middle-aged man's would be greatly reduced. In this situation, Ning Yu wasn't too afraid of the middle-aged man. Kill! Ning Yu didn't waste even a minute or a second. He stepped on the ground and immediately rushed out. Damn it! Looking at Ning Yu, who was constantly rushing towards him, the middle-aged man couldn't help but curse. He had calculated everything, but he didn't expect Ning Yu to have the god-slaying demon array and so many heaven pellets to activate it. As a heaven monarch expert, he only had a few dozen heaven pellets on him. Every time he used one, he would feel a pain in his heart. Now, Ning Yu had actually used up 10 heaven pellets to activate the god-slaying demon array. I'll let you know what the combat power of a heaven monarch is. The middle-aged man grabbed the air with his right hand, and a cold light was instantly caught in his hand. Swish! He suddenly threw it out. The cold light drew a beautiful arc and arrived in front of Ning Yu in the blink of an eye. Slash! Ning Yu took out the red demon sword and slashed. The cold light shattered on the spot. The consumption of heaven pellets was worth it. Seeing the cold light shatter, Ning Yu nodded in satisfaction. Without the god-slaying demon array, he definitely wouldn't be a match for the middle-aged man. Now that he used the god-slaying demon array, not only could he fight against the middle-aged man, he might even have a chance to kill him. The only thing that hurt his heart was that every time he attacked, he would need to use up a large number of heaven pellets. Just to maintain the god-slaying demon array, he would need to use up 1 heaven pellet every minute. If he fought with the middle-aged man just now, he would need to use up another 10 heaven pellets. Fortunately, Ning Yu had looted all the elixirs in the elixir room. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to bear the consumption. Let me! The two-horned demonic beast knew how terrifying the god-slaying demon array was. He shouted and rushed towards the middle-aged man. *CK, don't waste my heaven pellets! Ning Yu cursed in his heart. He then took out 10 heaven pellets and threw them into the core of the god-slaying demon array. Chi. The heaven pellets burned, and a terrifying energy entered the two-horned demonic beast's body. Boom! In an instant, the two-horned demonic beast and the middle-aged man started fighting. With the energy from the 10 heaven pellets, the two-horned demonic beast was actually evenly matched with the middle-aged man. Ha ha ha! Looks like I'm very powerful to be evenly matched with a heavenly monarch expert. The two-horned demonic beast raised its head and laughed wildly. Bang! However, the two-horned demonic beast had celebrated too early. A heavenly monarch was a heavenly monarch after all. The middle-aged man took a step forward, raised his right leg, and fiercely kicked the demonic beast's chest. The huge force sent the two-horned demonic beast flying and crashing heavily onto the ground. Uft! Fresh blood spurted out of the demonic beast's mouth. The two-horned demonic beast's aura quickly dropped to the freezing point. God-slaying demon array? Haha! Sorry, I have the Su family's 3rd-ranked killing array. The middle-aged man stared at the two-horned demonic beast on the ground and said sinisterly, "Invincible divine array!" Rumble, as the 3 words "invincible divine array" sounded. Swish, 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 swish. For terrifying light pillars shot into the sky from 4 directions, firmly surrounding Ning Yu and the others. Ka. In an instant, Chapter 2306. Oh no! The sudden change caused Ning Yu's expression to change drastically. The deity slaying demon array was his trump card and the reason why he could fight against the middle-aged man. Once the deity slaying demon array was destroyed, he would have no chance of winning against the middle-aged man. If the middle-aged man activated the invincible god array, he might even die today. Therefore, no matter what, he couldn't let the middle-aged man activate the invincible god array. Voila! It was a critical moment. Ning Yu took out 100 heavenly elixirs and threw them into the eye of the deity, slaying demon array. Rumble. In an instant, a terrifying surge of energy shot out from the eye of the array and entered Ning Yu's body. Die. Ning Yu stomped on the ground and gathered the energy on his wrist before he threw a punch. Child's play. The middle-aged man didn't take Ning Yu's attack seriously. The corner of his lips curled up into a smile. He said, "Today next year, it will be the anniversary of your death." As soon as the words left his mouth, the middle-aged man threw a punch. Bang! In the blink of an eye, Ning Yu's fist collided with the middle-aged man's fist. After the first attack, Ning Yu only stopped after retreating a few meters. The middle-aged man stood where he was and didn't move an inch. In this blow, Ning Yu was at an absolute disadvantage. Damn it! Clenching his fists, Ning Yu's expression darkened. What was done was done. It was unrealistic to think of a way to stop the middle-aged man from activating the invincible God Array. The most important thing now was to find a way to stabilize the deity slaying demon array and destroy the invincible God Array. Let me do it. Ning Lu suddenly dashed out and said, "I'll stop the middle-aged man. You go and find a way to break the invincible God Array." "Can you do it?" Ning Yu paused and asked. "Even if I can't, I have to." Ning Lu took a deep breath and dashed towards the middle-aged man. In terms of battle prowess, Ning Lu was much more powerful than the twin-horned demon beast. Since he had devoured Hong Tung's world tree trunk, Ning Lu was not much weaker than Ning Yu. Ning Yu could get into the top 3 of the Lord of Heaven's substitute list, and Ning Lu should be able to get into the top 5. Rumble. The battle broke out instantly. The facts proved that Ning Yu had underestimated Ning Lu. In the battle with the middle-aged man at the Lord of Heaven realm, Ning Lu was actually able to fight back and forth and was not at a disadvantage at all. But Ning Yu was very clear. Everything was an illusion. The middle-aged man clearly did not use his full strength. He seemed to want to capture Ning Lu alive, so he only used 50% of his peak strength. Red Demon Sword. Ning Yu naturally wouldn't waste such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He bellowed and consumed another 100 heavenly elixirs, turning them into energy, and slashed towards the invincible God Formation's eye. Kacha! The energy contained within 100 heavenly elixirs was terrifying to the extreme. With just one sword, Ning Yu destroyed one of the array cores of the invincible God Array. What? Seeing that the array core was destroyed, the middle-aged man's expression changed. He had originally thought that the invincible God Array would be able to block Ning Yu's attack, but who would have thought that Ning Yu had so many heavenly elixirs on him and had used up 100 of them in an instant? Under the attack of so many heavenly elixirs, one of the 4 array cores of the invincible God Array was instantly destroyed. Fortunately, the invincible God Array had a total of 4 array cores. If Ning Yu wanted to destroy them all, he would need to consume at least 400 heavenly elixirs. Adding the more than 100 heavenly elixirs that he had consumed just now, he had a total of more than 500, close to 600. In other words, Ning Yu had to have so many heavenly elixirs, otherwise he would not be able to shake the foundation of the invincible God Array. I originally wanted to spare your life, but now it seems that there is no need for that. If you want to blame someone, blame your friend. The middle-aged man no longer cared about Ning Yu. He shouted at Ning Lu, "If I don't use the invincible God Array, killing you will be as easy as killing a dog." Boom! As soon as he finished, the middle-aged man used 100% of his strength and rushed towards Ning Lu. Kill! Ning Yu knew that Ning Lu was using his life to buy time for him, so he immediately took out 300 heavenly elixirs and refined them. Chi, chi, chi. The terrifying energy brought by the 300 heavenly elixirs made even Ning Yu's heart palpitate. Swish, swish, swish. The flying sword in his hand waved continuously, and in an instant 3 sword beams shot out. Crack, crack, crack. Every sword beam was aimed at the array core of the invincible God array. A series of cracking sounds could be heard. In the blink of an eye, 3 array cores were completely destroyed. Crash! Adding the one that was destroyed just now. Up to now, all 4 of the invincible God array's array cores had been destroyed. The destruction of the array core meant that the invincible God array had completely lost its effect. What? The middle-aged man had always been connected to the invincible God array. The destruction of the remaining 3 array cores naturally could not escape his senses. The sudden change caused the middle-aged man's expression to change drastically, his face filled with disbelief. No matter what, he would never have imagined it. Ning, Yu actually had so many heavenly elixirs on him. Since the start of the battle, Ning Yu had used a total of more than 500 heavenly elixirs. Just this number alone was enough to bring down a first-rate family. One had to know. The Zhao family and Mo family, who were also part of the 3 major families, might not even have more than 500 heavenly elixirs combined. How could he not be shocked that Ning Yu had taken out so many at once? However, although he was shocked, the middle-aged man did not lose his mind. To him, even if Ning Yu had used up so many heavenly elixirs and destroyed the 4 array cores of the invincible God array, he was not afraid. There was no other reason. When Ning Yu destroyed the invincible God array, his god-slaying demon array was also destroyed. Humph! I admit that you are very strong, but this day next year will still be the anniversary of your death. The middle-aged man snorted coldly, then clenched his right hand into a fist and punched towards Ning Lu. At this point, the middle-aged man decided to change his strategy. Swoosh! Before he reached Ning Lu, the middle-aged man suddenly turned around and charged towards the collapsed twin-horned demonic beast. The middle-aged man was not a hothead. He knew that Ning Yu's strength was on par with his. Adding Ning Lu, it would be very difficult for him to stop Ning Yu and Ning Lu from escaping today. Therefore, he could only change his strategy and capture the twin-horned demonic beast to threaten them. F*CK, 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 F*CK. Ning Yu, save me! Seeing the middle-aged man charge towards it, the twin-horned demonic beast immediately shouted. The twin-horned demonic beast knew its limits. Even at its peak, it was not a match for the middle-aged man, let alone now. If Ning Yu did not help it, then it would definitely die today. Don't worry. Actually, when the invincible God array and the god-slaying demon array were destroyed at the same time, Ning Yu had already guessed what the middle-aged man was going to do. He had been paying attention to the middle-aged man's movements. When he saw the middle-aged man charge towards the twin-horned demonic beast, Ning Yu immediately threw out the red devil sword in his hand. Chi! The red devil sword was extremely fast. As it rubbed against the air, it made a hissing sound. Almost in an instant, Chapter 2307. Damn it! Seeing the red flying sword that suddenly appeared in front of him, the middle-aged man could not help but curse. With a flick of his wrist, the middle-aged man took out his flying sword. World-extinguishing sword. The middle-aged man was a heaven monarch, and his flying sword was of a very high grade. Ding! The world-extinguishing sword clashed with the red devil sword. When the 2 flying swords clashed, a crisp sound was heard. Hiss! Feeling the tearing pain from his hand, the middle-aged man took a deep breath. Could it be Ning Yu used the heavenly elixirs again? Otherwise, there was no way he could produce such a terrifying power. What a sly old fox! Ning Yu's expression turned extremely grave. The middle-aged man was right. He had indeed used up a lot of heavenly elixirs. In order to severely injure the middle-aged man before he used his Dharma treasure, he had used up a total of 100 heavenly elixirs. But unexpectedly, the middle-aged man directly took out his flying sword and blocked the killing blow. There's still over 400 heavenly elixirs left. Keeping the red devil sword, Ning Yu's expression was gloomy. Since entering the Su clan's prison, he had already used up over 600 heavenly elixirs. Fortunately, he had ransacked the Su clan's elixir store. Otherwise, he would not have lasted until now. You can't catch the wolf without sacrificing the child. Gritting his teeth, Ning Yu decided to use up all the remaining heavenly elixirs. After all, he had fought with the middle-aged man for so long. The Su clan's patriarch might have already received the news. If he dragged on, the situation would be very disadvantageous for him. Therefore, he had to finish the battle as soon as possible. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Burn! With a thought, Ning Yu threw over 400 heavenly elixirs into the red devil sword and activated the red devil sword to burn them all. Chi chi chi! With so many heavenly elixirs burning at the same time, a terrifying energy wave was instantly released. Kill! Ning Yu bellowed. With the red devil sword in hand, he suddenly dashed out. Let me lend you a hand. At this moment, Ning Lu's right hand suddenly slapped on Ning Yu's back. Endless energy flowed through his palm and into Ning Yu's body. It took less than a second. All the energy in Ning Lu's body entered Ning Yu's body. Not good. The middle-aged man finally realized that something was wrong when he sensed the energy ripples on the red demon sword. At this time, even though he was a heavenly lord, he felt his scalp tingle. After all, with so many heavenly pills burning at the same time, this kind of scene was enough to shock him greatly. World extinguishing / With a low grunt, the middle-aged man gathered all the energy in his body onto the world annihilation sword and slashed with it. Hua! A sword radiance as thick as a person's waist separated from the world-extinguishing sword and rushed towards Ning Yu at a terrifying speed. Go! How could Ning Yu face the sword light head-on? He flicked his wrist and threw the red demon sword. Kacha! The red demon sword contained the energy of Ning Yu, Ning Lu, and more than 400 heavenly elixirs. Compared to the world-annihilating sword, it was only slightly more. Therefore, as soon as they collided, the sword gleam that separated from the world annihilation sword was cut into two. It was a successful move. The red demon's sword was not idle. It swept out again. What a freak! The middle-aged man was shocked. He hurriedly threw out the world-annihilating sword, trying to stop the red demon sword. However, it was too late for the middle-aged man to stop the red demon sword. Kacha! The red demon sword collided with the world-annihilating sword and cut the world-annihilating sword into two. The red demon sword continued to fly forward and appeared in front of the middle-aged man in the blink of an eye. The red demon sword grew larger and larger in the middle-aged man's eyes. Finally, it stabbed into his heart. Uft! Blood spurted from his mouth. The middle-aged man used the Heavenly Lord's origin to force the red demon sword out of his body. Burn the origin. In the face of death, the middle-aged man finally began to throw caution to the wind. He even started to burn the Heavenly Lord's origin. It should be known that the Heavenly Lord's origin was extremely difficult to cultivate. Once it was burned, it was harder to replenish it. Every time the middle-aged man burned a trace of the Heavenly Lord's origin, his strength would decrease. But now, the middle-aged man had no choice but to burn the Heavenly Lord's origin. Swallow it. However, the middle-aged man's action of burning the Heavenly Lord's origin excited Ning Yu. The devouring power surged out and began to devour. Poof! Poof! In just a few minutes, Ning Yu had devoured 1/3 of the middle-aged man's Heavenly Lord's origin. This is not a loss. Feeling the additional Heavenly Lord's origin in his body, Ning Yu was very satisfied. Since ancient times, there were very few experts who had the Heavenly Lord's origin in their bodies before reaching the Heavenly Lord realm. According to Ning Yu's speculation, The top 3 geniuses on the Heavenly Lord substitute roll must have the Heavenly Lord's origin, as he had never challenged the Heavenly Lord substitute roll. He did not know the strength of the experts on the list. Ah! The middle-aged man raised his head and screamed. He burned the Heavenly Lord's origin in order to fight against Ningyu and kill Ningyu. Unexpectedly, a terrifying devouring force burst out from Ningyu's body, and it actually devoured the Heaven Monarch's source energy that Ningyu displayed. Patriarch. Knowing that he could not fight against Ningyu, the middle-aged man finally decided to call for help. He screamed and took out a crystal ball and crushed it. Kacha! The crystal ball shattered. In the Sioux clan's guest hall, the white-robed elder's expression turned ugly. What's going on? Rong Tianjun asked. Nothing. It might be an illusion. The white-robed elder, who was the Sioux clan's patriarch, shook his head slowly and said, I have already informed the Zhao clan and the Mo clan. I believe they will bring their geniuses here soon. That's good. There's no hurry, Rong Tianjun said indifferently. Is it really an illusion? The Sioux clan's patriarch frowned. He did not look too good. Ah! At the same time, in the Sioux clan's prison, the middle-aged man screamed again. You. He pointed at Ningyu with his right hand and said in fear, You can isolate space. The middle-aged man did not expect that the message he sent out from the crystal ball would be blocked by Ningyu. One had to know. Once the message was blocked, the Sioux clan's patriarch would not come to save him, and he was destined to be captured or killed by Ningyu. It's all thanks to your Heavenly Lord's origin. Ningyu heaved a sigh of relief and thought that it was a close call. Fortunately, he had devoured the middle-aged man's Heavenly Lord's origin. Otherwise, he would not have been able to block the message. Everything was fine now. The message was blocked. No one would come to help the middle-aged man in a short period of time. I want to rely on you. The middle-aged man rolled his eyes and said in a deep voice, I am willing to let go of my mind and let you control it. With a Heavenly Lord fighter, you can do whatever you want in Kuin Sioux City. A Heavenly Lord fighter? Haha, no need. Chapter 2308. Don't even think about it. The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said fiercely, Even if I self-destruct, I will not let you devour my Heavenly Lord source. As he spoke, the middle-aged man's body gradually expanded. It was obvious that he had decided to self-destruct. It's not that easy. How could Ningyu watch as the middle-aged man self-destructed? After all, the middle-aged man was a Heavenly Lord expert. Once he self-destructed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Swoosh! With both feet on the ground, Ningyu shot out like a sharp sword. Ningyu's speed was so fast that it only took him 0.1 seconds to arrive in front of the middle-aged man. Stab! He waved the red demon sword in his hand. It stabbed right into the middle-aged man's chest. It seemed to be deflated or something else. In short, the middle-aged man's swollen body immediately shriveled. Moreover, this shriveling was not normal. Devouring power. Ningyu injected a terrifying devouring power into the red demon sword. In the blink of an eye, the middle-aged man's Heavenly Lord source was completely devoured. Ah! Feeling the disappearance of the Heavenly Lord source in his body, the middle-aged man let out a hysterical roar. The middle-aged man knew very well. Without the Heavenly Lord source, he would become a lamb waiting to be slaughtered by Ningyu. Phew! After devouring the middle-aged man's Heavenly Lord source, Ningyu let out a long breath. If nothing went wrong, Ningyu was confident that he could challenge the Heavenly Lord substitute list and reach the first place. With his current combat power, he would not be afraid even if he were to face a real Heavenly Lord. He might even be able to kill him. In other words, if Ningyu had his current strength before he met the middle-aged man, He might not need to use more than 1,000 heavenly elixirs to kill the middle-aged man easily. Old ancestor will not let you off. Before the middle-aged man died, he stretched out his right hand and pointed at Ning Yu fiercely. However, before he could finish his sentence, the middle-aged man fell backwards. At this moment, the middle-aged heavenly lord, the Su family's unparalleled expert, was killed by Ning Yu. Gulp. Su Bao, Su He, and even the twin-horned beast couldn't help but gulp when they saw the middle-aged man's tragic death. Savage. Extremely savage. Is Ning Yu really at the Mastery Saint Immortal stage? They were very skeptical. After all, it was rare for a late-stage Saint Immortal to kill a heavenly monarch since ancient times. Sha. Ignoring the shock of Su He and the others, Ning Yu moved to the side of the middle-aged man, squatted down and started searching. How unlucky. After a while, Ning Yu stood up and grumbled. Ning Yu originally thought that since the middle-aged man was a heaven monarch expert, he should have plenty of Dharma treasures and elixirs on him. However, the middle-aged man did not even have an ordinary pill on him, let alone a heavenly pill. What a pity! Then Ning Yu picked up the 2 pieces of the world-annihilating sword on the ground and sighed. The world-annihilating sword was a lord of heaven-level magic treasure and was extremely powerful. However, when faced with the red demon sword, it still suffered a grievance and was sliced in 2. Red demon, I'll leave it to you. After throwing the 2 pieces of the world-annihilating sword into the red demon sword, Ning Yu shifted his gaze to the 4th zone of the heavenly prison. After the middle-aged man died, the 4th zone was guarded by the bronze stone door. As long as he could open the bronze stone door, Ning Yu would be able to see Su Ying, who was trapped inside. After taking a deep breath, Ning Yu took a step forward and placed his right hand on the bronze stone door. A force flowed through Ning Yu's palm and into the bronze stone door. However, the force drilled into the bronze door, but it didn't budge at all. Ning Yu felt that the situation was a little unbelievable. One had to know. He had used 80% of his strength just now. 80% of his strength had not moved the bronze stone door at all. One could imagine that even if he used 100% of his strength, it would be impossible to open the bronze stone door. It's useless. Behind him, Su He shook his head and said, unless we have the ancestral patriarch's key, it's impossible to open the bronze stone door. Ning Lu, do you have any ideas? After glaring at Su He, Ning Yu turned to look at Ning Lu and asked. Ning Lu's original body was the Tree of World. He might have a way to break the bronze stone door. Ning Lu slowly walked to the bronze stone door and looked at it. He then shook his head and said, no, the structure of this bronze stone door is very special. Unless I can advance to the Lord of Heaven Realm, there is no way. Damn it! Ning Yu cursed. He had gone through a lot to get here. Who would have thought that he would not be able to break the bronze stone door and save Su Ying? All of you step back. I don't believe it. Ning Yu suddenly stepped forward and gathered the divine qi in his body on his fist. He punched at the bronze stone door with a violent gust of wind. Bang! The fist and the door collided. The result was obvious. The bronze stone door was unscathed, but Ning Yu's fist had a bloody mark. Double-horned demonic beast. Ning Yu looked at the double-horned demonic beast and said, your master, Lord of Heaven Realm, is a Lord of Heaven expert. Is there any way to contact him? It's just a small matter. Why bother, Lord of Heaven Realm? The double-horned demonic beast waved its hand casually and said proudly, give me 10 minutes. I promise I can break it. Are you sure? Ning Yu said hesitantly. Even he could not break the bronze stone door. The double-horned demonic beast was weaker than him. Could it really break it? Of course it's true. The double-horned demonic beast released all the energy in its body and rushed at the bronze stone door. Creak! As the energy came into contact with the bronze stone door, it actually made a creaking sound. What the F***CK? Seeing the change in the bronze stone door, Ningyu cursed. The double-horned, demonic beast did not lie to him. It could really break the bronze stone door. Let me tell you, this bronze stone door is extraordinary. You need to find the stable point inside and pour all your energy into it. The double-horned demonic beast twisted its neck and said, I might not need 10 minutes to open it. Creak, creak, creak. It was proven. The double-horned demonic beast did not lie. In just 5 minutes, the bronze stone door was completely opened. Su-He, Su-Bao, you two go in first. Ningyu was not a fool. He would not foolishly enter the fourth zone of the heavenly prison first. Instead, he chose to let Su-He and Su-Bao go in. All right. Su-He and Su-Bao looked at each other and carefully approached the bronze stone door. Swish. However, just as Su-He's right foot stepped on the other side of the bronze stone door, there was a sudden change. A cold light shot out from the other side of the bronze stone door. Crack! The cold light was extremely fast. In just 0.01 seconds, it chopped off Su-He's right foot. Hiss! The sudden change caused the void leopard to suck in a breath of cold air, and it hurriedly retreated. It's the Su clan's Imperial Guard. Su-Bao's entire body was trembling, and his lips could not stop trembling. Su clan's Imperial Guard, Ningyu said doubtfully. Chapter 2309 20 Half-Step Heavenly Monarchs. Ning, you looked at the other side of the bronze door and frowned. This is not a big problem. With Ning Yu's current strength, he could even kill a real heavenly monarch, let alone a half-step heavenly monarch. 20 heavenly monarchs might be a lot, but their combined combat power might not be as high as that of a heaven residence expert. It seems like they can't come out? Ning Yu said, doubtfully after observing for a while. Void, Leopard nodded and replied. Indeed, they can't come out. The old ancestor must have ordered them to stay in the fourth zone of the heavenly prison. Let's go. Ning Yu would not waste time. With a wave of his hand, he leaped into the air and charged towards the side of the bronze door. 20 half-step heavenly monarchs were not enough to scare him. Swish! As soon as Ningyu entered the bronze door, several cold lights flew toward him. Small tricks. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu sent out several palm prints. Chi! 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 When the palm prints and the cold lights made contact, they both shattered. Next, 10 Su family guards slowly appeared in front of Ningyu. How dare you trespass the Su family's forbidden ground? One of the guards with a crew cut took a step forward and said coldly, if you know what's good for you, kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake. Otherwise, PFFF. Before the crew cut Imperial Guard could finish his words, he felt his body lighten as he was sent flying backward. Bang! Accompanied by a crisp sound, the crew-cut Imperial Guard fell heavily to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Su family guards are just SO. Ningyu waved his hand and said indifferently, I'll give you a chance to live. Submit to me, or all of you will die. What? The martial artist with the crew cut was instantly defeated, which made the other 9 martial artists' expressions change drastically. They did not expect the martial artist with the crew cut to be defeated in one move. It should be known, the cultivator with the crew cut was the vice commander of the Su clan's Imperial Guards. He was extremely powerful. Even the martial artist with the crew cut had been defeated. It was conceivable that if they continued to foolishly charge forward, they would definitely die. Quick, inform the commander. The remaining 9 Imperial Guards raised their heads and shouted. Each of them took out a crystal ball and crushed it. Kacha! 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 The sound of the crystal ball shattering kept ringing. Courting death. Ning Yu's expression turned cold, and he hurriedly drew out the red demon sword and slashed through the air. Since these guards didn't want to live, There was no need for Ningyu to hold back. Swish, swish, swish. He slashed out several sword radiants, and every sword radiance contained some heavenly monarch origin. To fight against a half-step heaven monarch, one had to use the heaven monarch source. Otherwise, with Ningyu's current strength, it would be very difficult for him to defeat them in one move. Pu 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 pu. The 9 Imperial Guards wanted to dodge, but the sword radiance, which contained the heaven monarch source, was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of them. Apart from the crew-cut Imperial Guard, who didn't taste the power of the sword radiance, the other 9 Imperial Guards were all hit by the sword radiance. Fresh blood spurted out uncontrollably. The 9 Imperial Guards all fell to the ground, and their auras dropped to the freezing point. Devour them. You wouldn't waste such a good opportunity. 9 Imperial Guards, no, it should be 10 half-step Heaven Monarch Realm Imperial Guards. After devouring these people, his overall strength would at least increase by 1 level. How dare you! However, just when Ningyu started to devour the Imperial Guards, he heard an angry roar. He saw 10 martial artists in black robes rushing over from afar. Peak of half-step Heaven Monarch. Feeling the aura emitted by the leading martial artist, Ningyu's expression turned slightly serious. The rest of them were only half-step Heaven Monarchs, and they had just advanced to that level. However, the skinny martial artist at the front made his heart palpitate. This feeling didn't even appear when he was facing the middle-aged man. No, his cultivation must be at least a Heaven Monarch. Ningyu's expression turned extremely serious. As expected, the skinny martial artist must be the commander of the Su family's Imperial Guards. As for why his cultivation was at the Heaven Monarch realm, Ningyu was also a little confused. Why wouldn't I dare? Shaking his head, Ningyu threw away all these thoughts in his mind and said indifferently, "Are you saying that only you are allowed to attack me, but I am not allowed to attack you?" As he spoke, the devouring power in Ningyu's body surged out and instantly devoured an Imperial Guard in front of him. This is so infuriating. Seeing that Ningyu didn't stop and instead became even more aggressive, the skinny martial artist was so angry that his teeth itched. The Su family's old ancestor had asked him to guard Su-ing and prevent any rascals from entering. He originally thought that it would be an easy job. Who would have thought that it would be filled with danger? To be honest, he had seen the intense battle between Ningyu and the middle-aged man. As he was ordered to guard the 4th level of the prison, he could only watch as the middle-aged man was killed. The 4th level of the prison not only contained Su-ing, but also all the wealth of the Su family. The elixirs in the Su family's elixir room were just for show. The real foundation of the Su family was all in the 4th level of the prison. Therefore, even though the middle-aged man was defeated, the skinny martial artist didn't dare to leave recklessly. The taste is not bad. Ningyu shrugged and continued to devour the remaining Imperial Guards. Ningyu was very fast. Almost in an instant, the remaining 9 Imperial Guards, including the crew-cut Imperial Guard, were all devoured by him. After devouring 10 Imperial Guards, Ningyu felt that his strength had increased a lot. This is interesting. However, what puzzled Ningyu was that the skinny martial artist just watched him devour the Imperial Guards and didn't interfere. This kind of situation really made him a little confused. Let me give you a piece of advice. Surrender as soon as possible. The skinny martial artist clenched his fists and said fiercely, "This is the Su family's forbidden area. Anyone who comes here is destined to suffer." Ignoring the skinny martial artist's threat, Ningyu extended his senses and started to probe. A moment later, Ningyu withdrew his senses. The corner of his mouth raised into an arc. There was a reason why the skinny martial artist didn't interfere. According to Ningyu's probe, most of the skinny martial artist's energy was spent on the array in the distance. There were two martial artists imprisoned in the array. One was his old friend, Suing. As for the other one, although he was ragged and had a head full of white hair, Ningyu was sure that he was at least a heaven monarch. Furthermore, he might be a mid-stage heaven monarch. Subao Suhi. Ningyu rushed outside the bronze door and said, "Come in and see if that array is the Su family's second-ranked killing array." Swoosh swoosh. Subao and Su. He didn't dare to delay and quickly flew to Ningyu's side. That's right. It's the second-ranked killing array, the void killing array. Chapter 2310. The Void Killing Formation. Ningyu stared at the spirit array in the distance. Then he turned his attention to the skinny cultivator, who was also the commander of the Imperial Guards. He said lightly, "I don't like to talk nonsense. I'll give you two choices. First, bring the other 9 Imperial Guards and join my side. Second, speaking of this, Ningyu paused a little. Then he continued, die." Boom! As the word die fell from his mouth, a terrifying aura was suddenly emitted from Ningyu's body. After devouring the crew-cut Imperial Guard and the other 9 Imperial Guards, Ningyu's strength had increased a lot. Facing the commander of the Imperial Guards, who was mostly focused on the void killing formation, there was naturally not much pressure. Crack, crack, crack. In the face of the oppressive aura emanating from Ningyu's body, the Imperial Guard commander's performance was still considered normal, but the other 9 Imperial Guards made cracking sounds at their knees and shivered all over. They were not the same as the commander of the Imperial Guards. The commander of the Imperial Guards was a Heavenly Monarch realm expert, but they were only half-step Heavenly Monarchs. What are you waiting for? Go, all of you, go. Whoever kills them, I will report to the old ancestor, and you will be rewarded handsomely. The commander of the Imperial Guards kicked the buttocks of the Imperial Guards in front of him and said in a deep voice, "The deputy commander has been killed. Whoever kills him, I will recommend him to be the deputy commander." Whoosh! The deputy commander was indeed a great temptation to the Imperial Guards. With a great reward, there would always be brave men. The 9 Imperial Guards looked at each other, and finally they all rushed out at the same time. With so many Imperial Guards attacking together, it was a shocking scene. Humph! You overestimate yourself. Seeing the Imperial Guards' arrogant attacks, Ningyu snorted and directly took out the red demon sword, waving it continuously. Swish! In a split second, numerous sword rays separated from the red demon sword. Uft, uft, uft. To the Imperial Guards, it was really a beautiful dream, but reality was cruel. In just one move, 3 Imperial Guards' throats were slit, and they died on the spot. The sudden change caused the confidence of the remaining 6 Imperial Guards to waver. Ningyu had displayed such terrifying combat power. How were they supposed to fight against him? What was the difference between rushing up like that and throwing away one's life? However, the facts proved that these Imperial Guards were all blinded by lard. In order to become deputy commanders, they didn't even care about their lives. One after another, they rushed out. Kill! Of course, Ningyu would not hold back. He channeled his immortal chi into the red demon sword and threw it out. Puff, puff, puff this time. The Imperial Guards were not so lucky. The red demon sword had personally attacked, and its body also contained the terrifying divine chi that Ningyu had injected into it. Its might was extremely powerful. The 6 Imperial Guards didn't even have time to react before they were killed. Chi, chi, chi. Ningyu instantly flew to the Imperial Guard side, and his devouring power gushed out. In just a few seconds, the Imperial Guard was completely devoured. This is infuriating. In just 1 minute, all 9 Imperial Guards had died tragically. The Imperial Guard commander gritted his teeth in anger. However, he had no other choice at the moment. Most of his attention was on the killing formation in the void. Compared to the threat of Ningyu, Su Ing and the disheveled cultivator trapped in the killing formation in the void were the truly terrifying existences. I have to inform the Patriarch. The Imperial Guard commander was not a rash person. He hurriedly took out a crystal ball from his bosom and was about to crush it with force. Swoosh! However, how could Ningyu give him this opportunity? Ningyu stepped on the ground and instantly arrived in front of the Imperial Guard commander. Bang! He clenched his right hand into a fist and sent the Imperial Guard commander flying. The crystal ball flew out of his hand. Pa! Ningyu reacted quickly and caught the crystal ball before it fell to the ground. A sound-transmitting ball. Ningyu released a little of his perception and looked at the crystal ball. Then he threw it into the red demon sword. Fortunately, the Imperial Guard commander did not succeed. Otherwise, the patriarch of the Su clan would definitely come. With Ningyu's strength, he could win against ordinary heavenly monarchs. However, against a powerful heavenly monarch like the patriarch of the Su clan, the possibility of him winning was not high. You. Seeing that the sound-transmitting ball had been snatched away by Ningyu, the Imperial Guard commander's eyes shrank. He was dumbfounded. Losing the crystal ball meant that he could not contact the patriarch of the Su clan. Once he could not contact the patriarch, he had only one option left. He had to give up his control of the killing formation in the void and be completely freed. He could then fight with Ningyu openly. Of course, the Imperial Guard commander did not want to see such a situation. After all, the patriarch of the Su clan had personally given him the task of guarding the killing formation in the void. If he could not complete the task, even if he could defeat or even kill Ningyu, he was destined to suffer. What about you? Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, I gave you a chance, but you did not know how to cherish it. In that case, I have to send you to hell. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu charged forward and swung the red demon's sword in his hand. Whoosh! In an instant, several sword rays shot out and attacked the Imperial Guard commander from all directions. Chapter 23:11. Chi-Chi, a heavenly lord's source, burst out from the commander's body. Go! The commander of the Imperial Guards bellowed. He controlled the Lord of Heaven's origin and charged towards Ningyu. The commander knew very well that the biggest threat to him was not Ninglu, but Ningyu. As long as he could kill Ningyu, he would be out of danger. Therefore, he used half of his heavenly lord's source to kill Ningyu in one move. Good timing. Looking at the heavenly lord's source that was charging towards him, Ningyu was not afraid. Instead, he was overjoyed. He had devoured the middle-aged man's heavenly lord source, which increased his strength by several times. If he could devour the commander's heavenly lord source, his strength would soar to the point where he could easily kill an early-stage heavenly lord. Devour! The devouring power in his body surged out crazily. Ningyu controlled the devouring power and wrapped it around the heavenly monarch's origin that the Imperial Guard commander had displayed. Trying to devour my heavenly lord's source? Haha, you must be dreaming. The Imperial Guard commander smiled coldly. The commander was very confident. What was the heavenly lord's source? Even a little bit of heavenly monarch origin could easily kill an ordinary half-step heavenly monarch expert. Ningyu was only a late-stage Saint Immortal. No matter how strong he could not withstand the impact of the heavenly lord's source. Poof! However, dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. The Imperial Guard commander's pupils constricted and his face was filled with shock. He realized that the heavenly lord's source that he had displayed had been swallowed by Ningyu. This situation was completely out of his expectations. He had never thought that it would happen. Gulp! He could not help but swallow his saliva. The Imperial Guard commander tried to retrieve the Heavenly Monarch's source energy. It was a pity. No matter how hard he tried, he could not retrieve the Heavenly Lord's source that had been swallowed by Ningyu. Again, the Imperial Guard commander was not someone who would sit and wait for death. He unleashed the Heavenly Monarch origin in his body again, wanting to deal a fatal blow to Ningyu. Ka. The Heavenly Lord's origin swept out, and even the void trembled. Pucci. However, just as the Imperial Guard commander took out the remaining Heavenly Monarch's origin, he felt a fishy sweetness in his throat. Then he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The Imperial Guard commander's face turned deathly pale without any trace of blood. Run! Since he knew that he couldn't fight against Ningyu, the Imperial Guard commander immediately gave up on the void-killing formation and chose to escape. You want to leave? However, how could Ningyu give him the chance to escape? In a flash, Ningyu appeared in front of the Imperial Guard commander. Die. The red demon sword suddenly thrust forward. Without missing a beat, the sword pierced through the heart of the Imperial Guard commander. You can't. Puff. The Imperial Guard commander stretched out his right hand and pointed at Ningyu. He wanted to say something harsh, but before he could finish his words, his body fell backward. Plop! At this moment, the Imperial Guard commander, who had reached the Heavenly Monarch realm and was extremely powerful, was killed. Huff! Seeing that the Imperial Guard commander was killed, Ning Lu and the double-horned demonic beast let out a long breath at the same time. After all, the Imperial Guard commander was a Heavenly Monarch realm expert. Killing him was equivalent to getting rid of a huge problem. Ningyu, can you? As soon as Ningyu killed the Imperial Guard commander, the double-horned demonic beast's voice sounded in his ears. Without thinking, Ningyu knew what the double-horned demonic beast meant. Rolling his eyes, Ningyu said, I'll leave his body to you. I hope you can recover to your peak and improve your strength. Don't worry. After devouring a Heavenly Monarch realm expert, my strength will soar to the top 20 of the Heavenly Monarch substitute list. The double-horned demonic beast guaranteed. I hope so. Ningyu didn't bother with the double-horned demonic beast. He slowly came to the front of the void-killing formation and looked at the two martial artists in the formation. One of them was Su Ying. At this moment, Su Ying's face was pale and his eyes were dim. If it weren't for Ningyu's sharp senses, he would have thought that Su Ying had been killed. As for the other martial artist in ragged clothes, his white hair was scattered, and his real face couldn't be seen. Is there any way to break it? Ningyu turned around and looked at Ning Lu, asking. The void-killing formation has a formation eye. If I didn't guess it wrong, the key to break it should be the Su family's patriarch, Ning Lu said with a serious face. So we can't break it. Ningyu frowned. It's not that there is no way. Ning Lu thought about it and said, find a way to enter the void-killing formation and attack from the inside. If we attack the formation eye from both sides, there's a chance that we can break it. Okay, I'll go in. You attack from the outside, and I'll attack from the inside. Ningyu nodded and was about to move forward. Ning Lu hurriedly pulled him back and said, Your cultivation hasn't reached the Lord of Heaven level. Even if you go in, it won't help. Slightly stunned, Ningyu asked in confusion, What do you mean? It's very simple. If you want to attack the formation eye from the inside, your cultivation must reach the Lord of Heaven level. Otherwise, no matter how many Heavenly Lord origins you have, you won't be able to get close to the formation eye, Ning Lu said in a low voice. Then isn't it over? Ningyu was dumbfounded. According to what Ning Lu had said, he had gone through so much trouble to come here, but it was all for nothing. Ahem. At this moment, a dry cough suddenly came into Ningyu's ears. The voice that came into his ears made Ningyu slightly stunned. He looked in the direction of the voice. Inside the void-killing formation, a white-haired old man slowly raised his head and said in a hoarse voice, "I can attack the formation, from the inside." Ning Yu looked around. In the end, he confirmed that it was the white-haired old man who had spoken. "Who are you?" Ning Yu didn't answer the white-haired old man immediately, but asked a question instead. "A lonely old man." The white-haired old man's tone was very calm. He wasn't too excited or angry. Ning Yu's face was full of black lines. A lonely old man? He really dared to say that. Why didn't he call himself a crazy old man? "Little girl, wake up. Your little lover is here to save you." The white-haired old man turned his head and said to Su-ing. "Who?" Hearing the white-haired old man's words, Su-ing opened her eyes with difficulty and shifted her gaze to Ning Yu. Swish! Su-ying's face was filled with shock when she took a look at it. "Ning Yu, why are you here?" Su-ing was shocked at first. Then she used all her strength to say, "Go! The Su clan's patriarch has been looking for you. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late." It was obvious. Su-ing was very worried that Ning Yu would be captured by the Su clan's patriarch. Others might not know how powerful the Su clan's patriarch was, but Su-ing was well aware of it. The strength of the Su clan's patriarch could rank in the top 3 in Kuan Su City. "Little girl, you don't have to worry about him." Chapter 23:12. What? Hearing the white-haired elder's words, the twin-horned demonic beast widened its eyes, its face full of shock. How did the white-haired elder know it was from the immortal court? After all, even Ning Yu, Ning Lu, and the others didn't know his true identity. Could the white-haired elder be from the immortal court too? Don't make a fuss. The white-haired elder glanced at the twin-horned demonic beast and said indifferently, "The most important thing right now is not to waste time on these things, but to find a way to break the void-killing formation. Once the Su family's patriarch comes to his senses, we will all die." Ning Yu was not frightened by the white-haired elder. He said with a serious expression, "What is the Su family's patriarch's cultivation?" In fact, Ning Yu did not mind saving the white-haired elder in the process of saving Su-ing. However, before saving the white-haired elder, he had to know who the white-haired elder was and whether he was a threat to him. Wouldn't it be very dangerous if they rescued a martial artist who posed a great threat? "Middle stage, Heaven Lord," the white-haired elder replied. "The Su family's patriarch's strength is not as simple as it seems." One last question. Ning Yu thought for a moment and said, "Why should I save you?" "Haha, without me, you will not be able to save this little girl." The white-haired elder smiled as if he was certain of Ning Yu's victory. "Not necessarily." Ning Yu took a deep breath and took a step forward slowly. The immortal qi in his body gathered on his wrist, and he punched the void-killing formation. Rumble. Under Ning Yu's powerful attack, the void-killing formation let out a rumbling sound. However, this situation only lasted for a moment, and it quickly returned to normal. Obviously, Ning Yu could not break the void-killing formation. Madman. Although Ning Yu was unable to break open the void-killing formation, it gave the white-haired old man a very deep shock. Previously, the white-haired elder thought that without his help, Ning Yu would not be able to break the void-killing formation. Now, the white-haired old man finally understood. Even without him, Ning Yu could break the void-killing formation all the same. The only difference was that with him, Ning Yu wouldn't get hurt. Without him, not only would Ning Yu be injured, his life would be in danger. "Are you really willing to do this for her?" The white-haired old man didn't quite believe it. He looked at Ning Yu and said in a low voice, "Su-ing is my friend. What do you think?" Ning Yu looked at the white-haired old man with interest. The white-haired old man and Ning Yu looked at each other. Neither of them spoke. For a time, the situation fell into a stalemate. All right, you win. A moment later, the white-haired elder was the first to break the deadlock. The white-haired old man could not afford to waste time. After being trapped in the void-killing formation for so many years, with the hope of escaping right in front of him, he absolutely could not give up. Even if he had to submit to Ningyu, he would not hesitate. "As long as you save me, I can promise you 3 things," said the white-haired old man. "Deal." Ningyu knew that if he continued to be entangled with the white-haired old man, he would definitely miss the best opportunity to save him. Hence, he did not waste any time and said loudly, "To be on the safe side, I hope you can." Ningyu didn't continue the rest of his words. However, the white-haired old man understood what Ningyu meant. Swoosh! The white-haired old man forcefully forced out a drop of blood from his body and executed a secret technique to burn it. Swoosh! In an instant, Ningyu felt a connection with the white-haired old man. This connection was very magical. It was as if he could control the white-haired old man's life and death. However, Ningyu knew that this was just a restriction between him and the white-haired old man. Unless the white-haired old man did not fulfill his promise, he could not do anything to the white-haired old man. A restriction unique to the Celestial Court. The white-haired old man broke free from the restriction and walked towards the void-killing formation's Formation I. "When he attacks the Formation I, we will attack from the outside." Seeing the white-haired old man's actions, Ning Lu reminded secretly. Understood. Ningyu was not stupid. Since the white-haired old man was willing to pay the price, he would naturally attack with his full strength. Boom! At this moment, the white-haired old man used all his strength and unleashed an extremely terrifying aura, which pressed towards the Formation I. "Attack!" Seeing the white-haired old man attack, Ning Lu shouted in a deep voice. Ningyu injected all the immortal qi in his body into the red demon sword. In order to break the void-killing formation, he did not even hesitate to burn his blood to increase his strength. Crack! He slashed with his sword. The terrifying sword radiance collided with the void-killing formation. A crisp sound was heard. The white-haired old man was inside, and Ningyu was outside. Under the 2 powerful attacks at the same time, the void-killing formation looked like it was about to shatter. Me too. Seemingly feeling that Ningyu and the white-haired old man were slightly weaker, Ning Lu also blasted out a punch, smashing it against the void-killing array. As for the double-horned demonic beast, it was not idle either. After devouring so many martial artists, its strength had increased significantly. Crack, crack, crack! Under the attacks of Ningyu, the white-haired old man, Ning Lu, and the double-horned demonic beast, the void-killing formation continued to give off cracking sounds. Crack! About 3 minutes passed like this. When the final crack was heard, the entire illusionary killing formation crumbled to the ground. "Ha ha ha! I Baotian am finally out." After the void-killing formation broke, the white-haired old man raised his head and let out a loud laugh. Swoosh! As soon as the laughter ended, the white-haired old man, who was Baotian, instantly appeared in front of Ningyu and stood still. After sizing up Ningyu, Baotian said, "I will definitely complete what I promised you. However, I have something important to do now. I will naturally come back to find you after I complete it." Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, Ba Wutian turned into a shadow and disappeared in an instant. This, seeing Ba Wutian leave, the double-horned demonic beast was dumbfounded. It wanted to ask if Ba Wutian was from the Immortal Court, but it did not expect Ba Wutian to leave before it could. "I have to inform Heavenly Lord Rome." The double-horned demonic beast rolled its eyes and immediately sent a voice transmission to Heavenly Lord Rome. The Immortal Court did not open its doors to outsiders. Normally, anyone who came out of the Immortal Court, apart from those who had the token of the Immortal Court, was a wanted criminal of the Immortal Court. However, the wanted criminals of the Immortal Court were not simple. If one's cultivation had not reached the heavenly Lord realm, there was no way one could become a wanted criminal. Almost every wanted criminal had been involved in many murder cases. As long as one could capture a wanted criminal and send him to the immortal court shrine, one could exchange them for some contribution points. In the immortal court's shrine, contribution points could be exchanged for many Dharma treasures and elixirs. Su-ing, how have you been? Ning Yu did not care whether the white-haired old man left or not. He immediately flew to Su-ying's side and took out the lightning tribulation fluid that he had prepared. He handed it to Su-ing and said, "I did not expect that we would have the time to meet again. Why are you so silly?" Su-ing did not stand on ceremony with Ningyu and immediately took the lightning tribulation fluid and swallowed it. Boom! As soon as the lightning tribulation fluid entered his stomach, Su-ying's aura soared. Bang! 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 3 consecutive dull sounds could be heard. Chapter 23:13. How am I stupid? Is it because my cultivation is not as high as yours? Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, "To be honest, I did not expect you to reach the peak of the Saint Immortal stage in such a short time. Are you looking for a beating?" Su-ing punched Ningyu and said, "I was already a Saint Immortal. The reason why my cultivation was low back then was because I had not merged with my main body yet." "I see." Ningyu sized Su-ing up from head to toe and said, "No wonder you were a little lowly at that time. Yet you've become slender and elegant now." It was said that girls changed 18 times between childhood and womanhood. Ningyu, Su-ing was still a golden-haired little girl back then. Who would have thought that she would turn into a great beauty all of a sudden? Su-ing was comparable to Shui-Wei Fairy. Glib. Su-ing glared at Ningyu and changed the topic. "You have to be careful of the Su clan's patriarch. His cultivation has reached the mid-stage of the heavenly monarch realm, and rumor has it that he is colluding with the people of the Immortal Court." Immortal Court? Ning Yu's expression became extremely solemn. He had heard of the Immortal Court before, but he did not know where it was exactly. Shui-Wei Fairy's parents seemed to be in the Immortal Court. He had promised to bring Shui-Wei Fairy to the Immortal Court to look for her parents. Should I let Shui-Wei Fairy know? Ningyu gave up on the idea after some thought. Firstly, Shui-Wei Fairy was cultivating in seclusion in the Red Demon Sword. Secondly, he was facing a great predicament. It was better not to let Shui-Wei Fairy know before he was safe. Otherwise, Shui-Wei Fairy might ask to go to the Immortal Court immediately. "Let's go. We can't stay here for long." After taking a deep breath, Ningyu grabbed Su-ying's shoulder and flew out of the prison. "Save us, benefactor, save us. As long as you save us, we are willing to submit to you." Yeah, we were all persecuted by the Su clan's patriarch. Before Ning Yu could leave with Su-ing, cries for help sounded in his ears. Obviously, these people were all experts imprisoned in the heavenly prison. Ning Yu didn't want to meddle in other people's business. After all, he didn't know if these people were evil people or not. He had a grudge against the Su family, but that didn't mean that he had a grudge against the other people in Kuan Su City. One had to know that once a ferocious expert was released, it was possible to set off a reign of terror in Kuan Su City. However, Su-ying's words completely changed his mind. "Try to help if you can. They are not bad people." Su-ing explained, "Recently, the patriarch of the Su family has been capturing people continuously. His motive is most likely due to the orders of the Immortal Court's backer. I suspect that the Su family's patriarch is up to something big. Ning Yu might not care about other people's requests." He had to carefully consider Su-ying's request. He thought about it. Ningyu said in a clear voice, "I can let all of you leave, but all of you have to swear a heavenly Tao oath that after you leave, you're not allowed to do anything that goes against reason and nature." We're willing to swear a heavenly Tao oath. Seeing that there was a chance to leave, the martial artists in the prison all forced out their essence blood and swore a heavenly Tao oath on the spot. Ning Yu did not go back on his word. He immediately took out the red demon's sword and blasted the prison doors open. Whoosh! A huge number of martial artists instantly regained their freedom. These people did not leave immediately. Instead, they all knelt in front of Ningyu and said in unison, "We are willing to follow our benefactor." Ningyu frowned. He didn't expect these people to be willing to follow him. For a moment, Ningyu was in a difficult position. After saving Su Ying, he didn't want to tangle with the Su family's patriarch anymore. After all, given his current strength, it was almost impossible for him to win against the mid-stage Heavenly Lord Realm Patriarch. "Benefactor, even if you let us all go, we definitely won't be able to escape from the Su family's patriarch." Rip. Many martial artists tore apart the clothes in front of them. Each of them had a 5-fingered palm print on their chests. Rakshasa seal. Seeing the palm print on the martial artists' chests, the twin horns' demonic beast's expression became extremely solemn. "What's a Rakshasa seal?" Ning Yu was puzzled. In the Immortal Court, there is a mysterious organization called the Azura Palace. The twin horns' demonic beast took a deep breath and explained in a low voice, "As for the Rakshasa seal, it is a unique palm print of the Azura Palace. Any martial artist struck by the Rakshasa seal will be found." Hearing the twin horns' demonic beast's explanation, Ning Yu's expression became solemn. Since the martial artists in the prison had the Rakshasa seal on them, it meant that they would not be able to escape. Save a person to the end, send the Buddha to the west. He took a deep breath. Ning Yu said in a deep voice, "You can follow me, but you must be obedient. Without my permission, no one is allowed to leave it." As he spoke, Ning Yu took out his spatial ring. Since most of the things were stored in the red demon's sword, the spatial ring was currently empty. All right. Without any hesitation, the martial artists in the heavenly prison all flew into their storage rings. It did not take long. All the martial artists in the Su clan's prison entered Ning Yu's spatial ring. "Let's go." After putting away the spatial ring, Ning Yu, Su Ying, and the others flew out of the prison. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. As soon as Ning Yu and the others left the prison, for experts descended upon them, the 4 great Vajras. That's right, these 4 martial artists were the 4 great Vajras who guarded the Su clan's prison. At that time, Su he had used some benefits to exchange for 10 minutes of free time. Now, it had been a long time since the promise of 10 minutes. Naturally, the 4 great Vajras came over to ask about it. You! As soon as they landed, the 4 great Vajras' faces were filled with fear. They realized that the woman standing next to Ning Yu was very familiar to them. The number 1 criminal of the Su clan, Su Ying. Crack! The great Vajra reacted the fastest. As soon as he saw Su Ying, he took out a crystal ball and crushed it. Puff, 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 puff. After the crystal ball shattered, Ning Lu, the twin-horned beast, Ning Yu, and Su Ying quickly made their moves and took care of the 4 great Vajras. Damn it, we were too late. Su Ying's expression darkened as he looked at the shattered crystal ball. "We must leave as soon as possible. The progenitor of the Su clan has received the news and will be here soon." Ha ha ha! Progenitor of the Su clan, come out and die. As soon as Su Ying finished speaking, a burst of maniacal laughter came from the distance. Ba Wutian! The martial artist who had burst out laughing was none other than Ba Wutian. Whoosh! 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 Following Ba Wutian's voice, for figures dashed out from the Su clan's guest hall. "Master, Rong Tian Jun!" Ning Yu and the twin-horned beast exclaimed when they saw a familiar figure. "Why are there 4 heavenly lords?" Ning Lu said with a stern expression. "Apart from Rong Tianjun, the other 3 are the progenitors of the 3 major clans of Kuan Su City, the Su clan, the Mo clan and the Zhao clan. Chapter 23:14. Ba Wu Tian, how dare you! In midair, the Su family's patriarch looked coldly at Ba Wu Tian and said viciously, "This is the Su family, not a place for you to behave atrociously." Due to the presence of Rong Tianjun, the patriarch of the Su family could not act up for the time being. He could only pretend to be calm. Actually, in the depths of his heart, he was already furious to the extreme. After all, Ba Wu Tian was someone he wanted from his backer in the immortal court. If they couldn't send Ba Wu Tian to the immortal court within the stipulated time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not a place for me to behave atrociously. Ba Wu Tian raised his eyebrows, his gaze sweeping across the cultivators behind the Su family patriarch. After a while, the corner of Ba Wu Tian's lips curled up. I was wondering who it was. So it's the Zhao clan's ancestor and the Mo clan's ancestor, those two pieces of trash. Obviously, Ba Wu Tian automatically ignored Rong Tianjun. No matter how stupid Ba Wu Tian was, he knew that heavenly monarch Rong came from the immortal court. As a wanted criminal of the immortal court, Ba Wu Tian did not want to have a conflict with heavenly monarch Rong. This is too much. Ancestor Zhao and Ancestor Mo's faces turned ugly. No matter what, they were all at the peak of the early stage Heaven Monarch realm. Yet, they were actually looked down upon by Ba Wu Tian. What happened? Rong Tianjun frowned slightly and said indifferently, "Su clan's patriarch, I hope you can give me a satisfactory answer. Why does the Su clan have a second mid-stage Heaven Monarch expert?" Upon hearing Rong Tianjun's question, the Su clan's patriarch's heart skipped a beat. An early-stage Heaven Monarch realm martial artist might not be able to attract Heaven Monarch Rong's attention, but a mid-stage Heaven Monarch martial artist was different. Even in the immortal court, a martial artist at the middle Heavenly Monarch realm could oversee a region. The Su family's ancestor hurriedly explained, "Dozens of years ago, Ba Wu Tian trespassed Kuin Su City. The Zhao family's ancestor, the Mo family's ancestor, and I joined hands to capture him. At that time, we imprisoned him in the Su clan's heavenly prison. Originally, we thought that we would be able to reform him. Who would have thought that he would actually break out of the heavenly prison and escape? My lord, please calm down. I will take him down right away." His voice fell. Su family's ancestor's figure flickered as he charged toward Ba Wu Tian. The Su clan's patriarch saw everything clearly. Right now, Ba Wu Tian wasn't in peak condition. This was the best time to capture Ba Wu Tian. If they missed this opportunity, they wouldn't get another one. "We'll lend you a hand." The ancestor of the Zhao family and the ancestor of the Mo family moved. All of a sudden, the three heavenly lords of Kuin Su City joined hands to fight against Ba Wu Tian. Ba Wu Tian is too impulsive. In the distance, seeing that Ba Wu Tian was surrounded by three experts, Su Ying said, "The Su clan's patriarch is at the middle stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. The Zhao clan's patriarch and the Mo clan's patriarch are both at the peak of the early stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. Even in a one-on-one fight, Ba Wu Tian might not be able to defeat the patriarch of the Su clan, let alone 1 against 3. Not necessarily." Ning, you looked at the two sides fighting fiercely on the battlefield and frowned. Ba Wu Tian has a backup plan. The key to victory does not lie with the Su family patriarchs, but with Rong Tianjun. Su Ying frowned slightly and asked in puzzlement, "What do you mean?" It's simple. This time it was the Twin Horns demonic beast that answered Su Ying. The Twin Horns demonic beast raised its nose and said proudly, "Rong Tianjun, my master, is strong enough to crush everything. Whichever side he joins will have an overwhelming advantage." The Twin Horns demonic beast had felt very oppressed in the heavenly prison. now that it had left the heavenly prison and was so far away from Rong Tianjun. It immediately puffed out its chest. That's right. Ning Yu nodded in agreement. Boom! On the other side, Ning Yu and the others were still talking. On the other side, the battle had reached its climax. Ba Wutian was fighting against 3 people by himself, but he was not at a disadvantage. Damn it! Seeing that he could not win after a long time, the Su family patriarch cursed inwardly. He then clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out. This punch, the Su family patriarch used 80% of his strength. Kill. Fight. The Zhao family patriarchs and the Mo family patriarchs all used their trump cards. Just like the Su family patriarch, they each used 80% of their strength. Are they going all out? Ba Wutian took a deep breath as he looked at the 3 patriarchs charging at him. He took out 3 black pearls from his bosom. Explode! Along with a low shout, Yi Shiwen's eyes widened. The 3 black pearls exploded in front of the Su family patriarchs and the others. Chi, chi, chi. A terrifying shockwave spread wildly in all directions from the center of the explosion. Not good. Seeing the aftermath of the explosion rushing towards him, Ningyu hurriedly waved his hands, forming a protective barrier of immortal chi in front of him. Crack, crack, crack. Crisp cracking sounds could be heard. Cracks appeared on the barrier of immortal chi. It was a critical moment. Ning Lu and the twin horns demonic beast channeled their energy into the barrier. The 3 of them worked together and finally stabilized the barrier. Puchi! 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 Ningyu and the others were at the edge of the explosion and could rely on the barrier of immortal chi to stabilize themselves. However, the Su family patriarchs and the others who were at the center of the explosion were not so lucky. The Su family patriarchs, the Mo family patriarchs, and the Zhao family patriarchs. The 3 of them each spat out a mouthful of blood. Their auras dropped by half. Ha ha ha. Ba Wutian couldn't help but laugh wildly at the sight of the Su family patriarchs and the others. I've waited for decades for this day. It's finally here. Thump! Ba Wutian's arrogance made the Su family patriarchs grimace. He clenched his teeth. The Su family patriarchs immediately knelt before Rong Tianjun, cupped his fists, and begged, "My lord, please act and kill this arrogant guy." Thump! Thump! The Mo family patriarchs and the Su family patriarchs exchanged glances, then knelt down as well. "My lord, please act." Whoosh! The Su family patriarch's actions made Ba Wutian's expression turn cold. What he was most wary of was Rong Tianjun interfering. After all, he didn't even have the right to fight back against Rong Tianjun. "I didn't want to interfere in your fight." Rong Tianjun slowly descended and said with a calm expression, "Unfortunately, you are from the immortal court, so I had to act." "Master, please have mercy." Seeing that Rong Tianjun was about to attack Ba Wutian, the twin-horned demonic beast immediately dashed forward. It soon arrived before Rong Tianjun and said, "Ba Wutian is my friend. I know him." Hearing the double-horned demonic beast's words, Rong Tianjun frowned slightly and asked in confusion, "How do you know him?" "Hee, master, I'm not the one who knows Ba Wutian. It's Ningyu." The twin-horned demonic beast chuckled. Ba Wutian promised Ningyu that he would help Ningyu 3 times unconditionally. "So, I think you should ask for Use opinion before killing Ba Wutian." As they spoke, the twin-horned demonic beast looked into the distance. Rong Tianjun followed the twin-horned demonic beast's gaze and saw a familiar figure in the distance. Chapter 23:15. Ning Yu looked very helpless. Since the double-horned demonic beast had exposed him, he could only brace himself and walk out. Swish! As expected, what Ningyu worried about finally happened. As soon as he appeared, the Su family patriarch and the Zhao family patriarch looked at him. The The Su family patriarch looked at Ningyu mainly because he saw Su Ying behind Ningyu. Su Ying was the same as Ba Wutian. They were both martial artists wanted by that person in the immortal court. It was fine that Ba Wutian had escaped. But who would have thought that even Su Ying had escaped? This situation made the Su family patriarch's expression extremely gloomy. If it wasn't for Rong Tianjun, the Su family patriarch would have attacked and killed Ningyu to take Su Ying. As for the old ancestor of the Zhao family, Zhao Hai, the reason why he looked at Ningyu was because Ningyu had destroyed one of his avatars in the Hong family. The destruction of his clone had caused his strength to drop greatly. He would definitely take revenge for this. Ningyu did not appear to be too flustered, even though he was stared at by two heavenly monarchs. He rubbed his nose and went straight to Rong Tianjun. I rescued Ba Wutian from the Su family's prison. He promised to do 3 things for me. I can choose not to, Rong Tianjun said after some thought. However, Rong Tianjun suddenly changed the topic halfway and said, "But Ba Wutian wants to return to the immortal court with you." Ningyu looked at Ba Wutian and wanted to ask for his opinion. "I have no objections," Ba Wutian quickly said. Ba Wutian wasn't a fool. In other words, being able to keep his life was already a blessing in disguise. If it wasn't for Ningyu and the double-horned demonic beast, he would have been killed by Rong Tianjun. The people of the immortal court always killed wanted criminals on sight. After all, killing a wanted criminal could be exchanged for a certain amount of contribution points in the temple. Furthermore, his cultivation was at the middle stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. If Jiang Yi killed him, he would be able to exchange for a large number of contribution points. If not for Ningyu and the double-horned demonic beast, there was no reason for Rong Tianjun to let him go. "My lord." The old ancestor of the Su family's face darkened when he saw that Heavenly Lord Rong wanted Ba Wutian to follow them to the immortal court. He said hastily, "Can you hand Ba Wutian over to us?" He humph. Before the Su family's patriarch could finish his sentence, Rong Tianjun snorted and said, "What I want to do is not up to you to decide. Next, call all the geniuses from your 3 families over. I want to test them." Heavenly Lord Rong didn't want to waste any more time. He said in a clear voice, "Those who pass the test can return to the immortal court with me. Those who failed will have to wait for the next test 30 years later." After being berated by Rong Tianjun, the Su family's patriarch didn't even dare to let out a fart. Even though the Su family's patriarch was extremely unwilling, he had no choice but to wave his hand and call out all the geniuses in the Su family who fit the criteria. Other than that, Mo family's ancestor, Mo He, and Zhao family's ancestor, Zhao Hai, also called out their geniuses. Splash! Not long after, the geniuses of the 3 families all landed in the courtyard of the Su family. Among them, the Su family had a total of 3 geniuses who fit the criteria. They were called Su Hu, Su Pai, and Su Shin. The Zhao family had a total of 2 geniuses who fit the criteria. Zhao Liang, Zhao Dongming. The Mo family also only had 2 geniuses, Mo Win, Mo Fei. "My lord, I just heard that you seem to have given Ningyu a token." At this moment, the Su family's patriarch had a thought and said, "I feel that we should let the geniuses of the Su family spar with Ningyu. At the same time, we can also find out what we are lacking in." Rong Tianjun looked at Ningyu and then at the 3 so-called geniuses of the Su family. He couldn't bear to do that. Spar? Ningyu's current strength had far exceeded his imagination. If he didn't guess wrongly, if he used his full strength, Ningyu would probably be able to kill an early-stage Heaven Monarch expert. Although the 3 geniuses of the Su family could be ranked in the top 500 of the Heaven Monarch substitute list, they had no chance of winning against Ningyu. In fact, as long as Ningyu wanted to, he could instantly kill them. "My lord, I will warn them and ask them to hold back." The Su family's patriarch was afraid that Rong Tianjun would reject him and quickly said, After all, it is a spar. They cannot use killing moves. Uft! Hearing the Sioux family's patriarch's words, Sioux couldn't help but sneer. Sioux, as a junior of the Sioux family, how can you sneer at such an important occasion? What are you doing? Hurry up and get over here. Sioux sneer made the Sioux family's patriarch feel that his chance had come. He berated Sioux and said coldly, "You offended my lord. Even if you die 10,000 times, it won't be enough. I have already left the Sioux family." Sioux didn't give in and said coldly, "I have nothing to do with the Sioux family now. You are the Sioux family's patriarch. What right do you have to order me around?" You. The Sioux family's patriarch was so angry that his nose was crooked. "All right, I agree to the spar between Ningyu and the geniuses of the Sioux family." Rong Tianjun waved his hand, indicating that the Sioux family's patriarch and Sioux didn't have to quarrel. "Thank you, my lord." The Sioux family's patriarch was overjoyed. He first thanked Rong Tianjun and then turned to Sioux Hu and said, "Sioux Hu, you will spar with Ningyu first." "Yes, patriarch." Sioux Hu took a step forward and hooked his finger at Ningyu and said, "I only need to use 50% of my strength to deal with you." 50% of your strength? Ningyu rolled his eyes. Since when were these geniuses so arrogant? A person ranked around 500 on the Heaven Monarch substitute list actually dared to talk to him like this. One had to know, if he used his full strength, he could even kill a Heaven Monarch expert with ease. "Why? Are you afraid?" The corner of Sioux Hu's mouth rose as he said sinisterly, "If you are afraid, then quickly kneel down and kowtow to me. Then stay in the Sioux family and cultivate obediently." "Let me stay in the Sioux family." Ning, you didn't think much about it at first. However, Sioux Hu's words finally made him understand. Sioux had told him that he was captured because the Sioux family's patriarch had detected the aura of the Tree of World on him. Because of this, therefore, the Sioux family's patriarch had been sending people to look for him. Now that he had taken the initiative to appear, the Sioux family's patriarch would definitely think of a way to keep him in the Sioux family. However, while the ideal was great, the reality was very harsh. Ning Yu took a step forward and raised a finger. He said, "I don't even need to use 10% of my strength to deal with you. Arrogant, you are courting death." Ning Yu's arrogant behavior infuriated the other two geniuses of the Sioux family, Su Pai and Su Shin. They wished that they were the ones who made the move. This way, they could teach Ningyu a lesson and let Ningyu know why flowers were red. Interesting. The geniuses of the Zhao family and the Mo family crossed their arms in front of their chests and looked at Ningyu with strange eyes. They were just watching the show. In their opinion, the fight between Ningyu and Su, who would definitely be the winner. Although Su, who was slightly weaker than them, he was enough to be ranked in the top 500 of the Heaven Monarch substitute list. Chapter 23:16. I have to say, you're the most arrogant Saint Immortal I've ever seen. I really don't understand why a late-stage Saint Immortal dares to be so arrogant. Su, who was not angered by Ningyu's words. Instead, he hooked his finger at Ningyu and said, "Come here, kneel down, and kowtow a few times. Otherwise, I'll show you what cruelty is." There are idiots every year, but there are especially many this year. Ningyu shrugged and said, "For trash like Su Hu, he didn't even need to use 10% of his strength to easily kill him." The reason why he didn't make a move immediately and chose to waste time with Su Hu was because he was hiding his heavenly Lord source. Just now, the Su clan's old ancestor, Mo He and Zhao Hai all released their senses and wandered around their bodies. Ningyu wasn't a fool. He had to hide his heavenly Lord source as much as possible. After all, a cornered dog would jump over a wall. Ningyu was rather worried that the Su clan's old ancestor would deal with him after he defeated Su Hu. "You're courting death." Ning Yu's words completely enraged Su Hu. He stomped on the ground, and Su Hu leaped out. Chi-chi. Su Hu's speed was very fast. He was so fast that the friction with the air made a hissing sound. Su Hu arrived in front of Ning Yu in almost an instant. He clenched his right hand into a fist and gathered all the energy in his body around it. He threw a punch. Not bad. You're ranked around 500 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute list, yet you're able to explode with the energy of around 450. Rong Tianjun couldn't help but nod when he saw the terrifying energy ripple on Su Hu's fist. According to the test conditions, Su Hu was satisfied. He could now give out the token to enter the immortal court. Thank you, Lord. The Su clan's old ancestor quickly thanked Rong Tianjun. Don't thank me. Heavenly Lord Rong waved his hand and said, If Su Hu can withstand a single strike from Ningyu, I will give him the token to enter the immortal court. But if he can't even withstand a single strike, I can only apologize to you. Not to mention one move. Even if it's 10 moves or 100 moves, Su Hu will still be able to deal with them with ease. What? The Su family's patriarch patted his chest and guaranteed. However, halfway through his words, the Su clan's patriarch's eyes widened in shock. Kacha! A crisp sound rang in his ears. Ning Yu's fist collided with Su Hu's fist, which was unavoidable. The two collided. Ning Yu stood still in the same place. On the other hand, Su Hu flew back several feet and only stopped when his body smashed into the wall. Puchi, dark red blood, spurted out. Su Hu's aura instantly dropped from the peak saint immortal realm to the early saint immortal realm. Moreover, this state of aura decline did not stop. 3 seconds later, Su Hu's aura dropped from the early saint immortal realm to the freezing point. At this moment, even a strong man without the strength to truss a chicken could easily kill Su Hu. How is this possible? The Su clan's old ancestor's eyes widened and his mouth opened wide. His face was filled with shock. He would never have imagined it. Someone as strong as Su who couldn't even withstand a single move. What kind of freak was Ningyu? He defeated Su Hu, who was ranked around 500 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking, with a single move. Did this mean that Ning Yu was ranked around 400 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking? Can't even withstand a single blow. Ning Yu clapped his hands and turned to look at the other two geniuses of the Su clan. He said calmly, If the two of you want to make a move, I hope you can do it together. Try not to waste my time. Arrogant. How dare you? Ning Yu's arrogant words infuriated Su Pai and Su Shin. Sha. Su Pai took a step forward and said coldly, Don't think that you can defeat me just because you defeated Su Hu. To tell you the truth, Su, who can only be ranked around 500 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking, but I can be ranked 400. I can be ranked 300 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking. Su Shin said fiercely, I don't even need 10% of my strength to deal with you. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, You talk too much. If you want to make a move, then do it. If not, then get lost. Kill. Su Pai and Su Shin looked at each other, then rushed out in unison. It was obvious. The two of them were already furious. It didn't matter if Ningyu insulted Su Hu. After all, they didn't have a good relationship with Su Hu. However, they couldn't tolerate Ningyu insulting them. Su clan's old ancestor, it seems that your Su clan's geniuses aren't good enough. Zhao Hai raised the corner of his mouth and looked at the Su clan's patriarch. 3 against 1. Don't get killed in the end. That would be a bit unreasonable. The Su clan's geniuses are all very strong. They have 3 in the top 500 of the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking. How can our 2 clans compare? He curled his lips and said, Humph. The Su clan's patriarch snorted and said in a deep voice, Su Pai and Su Shin are very strong. With them making a move, Ningyu will be. Halfway through his sentence, the Sioux clan's patriarch stopped abruptly. Bang! Bang! Two figures fell heavily in front of him. Without a doubt, the two martial artists who had fallen here were Su Pai and Su Shin. Ha ha ha! Seeing Su Pai and Su Shin instantly defeated, Zhao Hai and Mo, he couldn't help but laugh. Ka ka ka! As for the Sioux clan's patriarch, he clenched his fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. The three geniuses of the Sioux clan were all defeated by Ningyu. He would never have thought of such a situation, even if he was beaten to death. If someone told him that the three geniuses of the Sioux clan would be defeated, he would probably scold that person for having a mental problem. Now that the truth was in front of him, he was stunned for a moment. My lord, you see! The Sioux clan's patriarch reacted quickly. He looked at Rong Tianjun and said hesitantly, Do they still have a chance to obtain the token? Their strength is acceptable, but they couldn't take a punch from Ningyu. We'll talk about it in 30 years. Rong Tianjun said indifferently. Boom! Rong Tianjun's words made the Sioux clan's patriarch's head explode. For so many years, he had gone through so much hardship and consumed a lot of resources to nurture the three geniuses of the Sioux clan. Who would have thought they couldn't even withstand one move? The price was too high, so high that he couldn't bear it. He gritted his teeth. The Sioux clan's patriarch came in front of Su Shin and patted his shoulder with his right hand. How much strength did you use just now? How much strength? Su Shin was a little confused. In order to kill Ningyu with one move, he had used 100% of his strength. In fact, he had almost used all of his strength. Unfortunately, Ningyu was too strong. Even though he and Su Pai had used all of their strength, they were still defeated in one move. Trash, I'm helping you. The Heavenly Lord Origin in the Sioux clan's patriarch surged out and entered Su Shin's body through his palm. Swish! Feeling the additional Heavenly Lord Origin in his body, Su Shin immediately understood. Chapter 23:17. Swish! Su Shin's words caused everyone's gaze to shift towards him. A sore loser. Everyone's impression of Su Shin was that he was a sore loser. He had already been defeated. Yet he still dared to say that he had only used 10% of his strength. However, Su Shen did not care about everyone's strange gazes. He turned around and cupped his fists at Rong Tianjun. My lord, I want to fight with Ningyu again. I want to show him how powerful I am. How could you say that? Before Rong Tianjun could speak, the double-horned demonic beast beside him twitched its mouth and said, I've seen many shameless people, but this is the first time I've seen someone as shameless as you. I'm just telling the truth. Su Shin was neither servile nor overbearing. He said proudly, if I use 100% of my strength, defeating Ningyu will be easier than killing a dog. Come, come, come. Before I fight with Ningyu, let me test your strength first. The double-horned demonic beast took a step forward and was about to attack. Back off. Rong Tianjun's expression turned cold as he scolded. You'd better not say anything without my permission. Yes. The double-horned demonic beast lowered its head and responded with a wronged expression. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell. Su Shin was acting shamelessly. The Su family's patriarch had patted his shoulder just now. Who knew what had happened? Perhaps the Su family's patriarch had left something in his body or given him some trump card. The Su family's patriarch was a mid-stage Heaven Monarch expert. No matter how strong Ningyu was, it would be difficult for him to win against a mid-stage Heaven Monarch expert. Rong Tianjun looked at Ningyu and asked, What do you think about this? I'm willing to accept the challenge. Ningyu knew what Rong Tianjun meant. He nodded and said, Su Shin said that he didn't use 100% of his strength, so I gave him a chance. However, speaking up to this point, Ningyu paused for a moment, then continued, This is the second fight, so there should be something interesting. What stakes do you want? Su Shin asked. I'll take the heavenly pill. Ning Yu shrugged his shoulders and said, If I lose, I'll give you 1,000 heaven pills. If you lose, you give me 1,000 heaven pills. Deal. Su Shin answered without hesitation, not to mention 1,000 heavenly pills. Even if it was 10,000, Su Shan would agree, without hesitation. In any case, he didn't have to come up with the elixirs. Furthermore, he still had the Heaven Monarch's source left behind by the Su clan's patriarch. No matter what, it was impossible for him to lose. Damn, I didn't say enough. Seeing Su Shin agree so readily, Ning Yu was a little vexed. If he had known earlier, he would have said more. But now that things had come to this, Ning Yu couldn't change anything. He took a step forward and said to Su Shin, I hope you use your full strength. Otherwise, you won't be able to withstand a single move like before. Don't worry. Even if you don't say anything, I will still go all out. Su Shin twisted his neck, then stomped his feet on the ground and sprang forward like a spring. Chi! At lightning speed, Su Shin appeared in front of Ning Yu in the blink of an eye. The heavenly monarch origin in his body gushed out and gathered on his fist. For this punch, Su Shin used all the heavenly monarch origin. Pa! Ning Yu's right fist turned into a palm and held Su Shin's fist firmly. Absorb! Ning Yu didn't use his full strength. Instead, his devouring power gushed out and frantically devoured the heavenly monarch origin on Su Shin's fist. What happened? I'm not sure. Did Su Shin really not use his full strength? It's hard to say. Su Shin is a martial expert ranked around the 300th rank on the Heavenly Monarch substitute list. Logically, no matter how strong Ning Yu is, he shouldn't be able to defeat Su Shin in a single move. From the looks of it, Su Shin might really be careless. The 4 prodigies from the Zhao clan and the Mo clan all discussed. Since the process of the 2 fights was different, they thought that Su Shin probably didn't use his full strength. Under such circumstances, they all thought that Su Shan would win. A bunch of idiots. The reaction of the 4 prodigies from the Zhao clan and the Mo clan made the double-horned demonic beast roll its eyes and think to itself. What strength did Ning Yu have? He was an existence that could even kill a heavenly monarch expert effortlessly. How could a rotten fish like Su Shin be a match for Ning Yu? Ning Yu definitely had his reasons for doing this. Me, you. Feeling the heavenly monarch origin diminishing in his fist, Su Shin was alarmed. Ning Yu could actually devour the heavenly monarch origin. Su Shin wanted to contact the Su clan's patriarch, but he realized that there seemed to be a barrier in front of him, completely isolating him from the Su clan's patriarch. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't contact the Su clan's patriarch. You are indeed very strong. In order not to arouse the Su clan's patriarch's suspicion, Ning Yu pretended to have a pale expression and said solemnly, To deal with you, I have to use my trump card. What's going on? The Su clan's patriarch frowned slightly and was a little puzzled. What on earth was Su Shin doing? Why didn't he make a forceful move and defeat Ning Yu? The Su clan's patriarch was very furious. One had to know that in order to let Su Shin defeat Ning Yu, he did not hesitate to expend a quarter of the heavenly monarch origin and injected it into Su Shin's body. Now it was great. Not only did Su Shin not make a forceful move, but he was also exchanging punches with Ning Yu. Drip, drip. Just like that, time seemed to have stopped. In the blink of an eye, a minute passed. Many thanks. Ning Yu suddenly smiled at Su Shin and immediately exerted some force with his palm, forcing Su Shin back. Uft! A force poured into Su Shin's body. Even though Su Shin tried his best to resist, he still couldn't resist this force. The force rampaged around Su Shin's body, and before long, Su Shin's internal organs were completely destroyed. Dark red blood spurted out. Su Shen knelt on the ground on both knees. What? Seeing Su Shen's defeat, the Su clan's patriarch was the most shocked. The Su clan's patriarch never expected that Su Shen, who had a quarter of his heavenly monarch origin, would be defeated. A quarter of his heavenly monarch origin was enough to fight against the top 10 geniuses on the heavenly monarch substitute list. Now that Su Shen had been defeated, could it be that Ningyu was one of the top 5 geniuses on the heavenly monarch substitute list? The more he thought about it, the more likely the Su clan's patriarch was. Damn it! However, the Su clan's patriarch could only be furious. He had no other choice. He had already expended a quarter of his heavenly monarch origin. He couldn't possibly expend any more heavenly monarch origin to deal with Ningyu. Unless, thinking of this, the Su clan's patriarch took a step forward and said to Lord of Heaven Rome, "My lord, Ningyu is indeed very powerful. I would like to spar with him." What? Hearing the Su clan's patriarch's words, the double-horned demonic beast couldn't take it anymore. It mocked. "You're AF * King Heavenly Monarch Expert, and you want to spar with a late-stage Saint Immortal Jr. Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" Lord of Heaven Rome glared at the double-horned demonic beast, but didn't reprimand it. Chapter 2318. The patriarch of the Su family was a heaven monarch, and a mid-stage heaven monarch at that. No matter how strong Ningyu was, he was only at the Mastery Saint Immortal stage. Although there were many peerless geniuses in the Immortal Court, Heavenly Lord Rong had never seen anyone in the late Saint Immortal realm who could fight an intermediate Heavenly Monarch realm expert. The change in Rong Tianjuan's expression was completely seen by the Su clan's patriarch. In order to fight Ningyu, the old ancestor of the Su clan gritted his teeth and said to Heavenly Lord Rong, "My lord, what I mean is that I'm willing to suppress my cultivation base to the late-stage Saint Immortal realm to spar with Ningyu." Suppressing my cultivation? Rong Tianjun raised his eyebrows and found it interesting. In the Immortal Court, when some of the major forces nurtured geniuses, most of the experts would suppress their cultivation base and fight with the geniuses to train their ultimate combat strength. If the old ancestor of the Su clan had intentionally suppressed his cultivation base to the late Saint Immortal stage, it was not impossible for Ningyu to win. Thinking of this, Rong Tianjun said indifferently, "I agree, but I need to suppress your cultivation." "Thank you." How could the Su clan's patriarch dare to bargain? It was a blessing in disguise that Lord of Heaven Rong had agreed to it. After all, even if he suppressed his cultivation to the Mastery Saint Immortal realm, he still possessed an absolute advantage in terms of combat experience. "Master, the double-horned demonic beast hurriedly stepped forward, wanting to plead on behalf of Ningyu. "Papa!" Ningyu patted the double-horned demon beast's shoulder and said with a faint smile, "What? You don't believe me?" "It's not that I don't trust you. I just feel that there's no need for that," the double-horned Yao beast said. "Don't worry. A mere patriarch of the Su clan cannot do anything to me." Ningyu waved his hand, indicating for the twin-horned demonic beast to relax. In fact, after the Su family's patriarch lost a quarter of his heavenly monarch origin, his combat power had dropped by a quarter. One side waxed, and the other grew. Even if the ancestor of the Su clan did not suppress his cultivation base to the Mastery Saint Immortal stage, he would not be able to pose a threat to Ningyu. Humph! Shameless boasting. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Su family's ancestor snorted coldly and said fiercely, "Since you're so confident, do you dare to sign a life-and-death contract with me?" Voila! The words of the Su clan's progenitor surprised the surrounding cultivators, including the twin-horned monstrous beast and Suing, and even Ningyu himself. A life-and-death contract was not simple. Anyone who had signed a life-and-death contract would fall into the boundless Avicii, hell, once they were defeated. The fact that the Sioux family's old ancestor dared to say such words meant that he was extremely confident. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu tried to calm himself down. He took a step forward and said indifferently, I can sign a life and death contract, but you have to give me the 1,000 heavenly pills that you just lost me. Pucci, the Sioux clan's patriarch, laughed out loud. He was wondering what Ning Yu wanted to say, but it turned out that he wanted the heavenly pill. Forget 1,000 heavenly pills. Even if he was asked to take out 10,000 heavenly pills, he could easily take them out. Whoosh! He flicked his wrist. At that instant, a spatial artifact flew toward Ning Yu. Boom! When the space-type weapon arrived in front of Ning Yu, it suddenly exploded. Voila! 1,000 heavenly pills scattered in the air. Collect! Ning Yu tossed the red demon sword out. How powerful was the red demon sword? Under Ning Yu's control, the 1,000 heavenly pills were all collected in just a few seconds. Life and death contract. Seeing that Ning Yu had accepted the heavenly pills, the Sioux clan's progenitor took out a scroll and tossed it into the air. Next, the Sioux clan's progenitor forced out another 2 drops of blood and dripped them onto the scroll. Whoosh! In an instant, a blood-colored pillar of light shot out from the scroll and soared into the sky. It's your turn. The Sioux clan's progenitor looked at Ning Yu coldly and said, Don't tell me you don't dare! Absolutely not. Seeing that Ning Yu wanted to sign a life and death contract with the Sioux clan's progenitor, Su Ying hurriedly stopped him. The Sioux clan's progenitor is a mid-stage heavenly monarch. He has many trump cards. It's not wise to sign a life and death contract with him. That's right. There's no need to fight this old man head-on. The double-horned, demonic beast persuaded. I also don't think we should sign a life and death contract. Ning Lu also agreed. The 3 of them had the same idea. Signing a life and death contract was not a wise move. It's fine. Ning Yu twisted his neck and forced out 2 drops of blood on the spot, which entered the scroll in the air. Whoosh! A similar blood-colored pillar of light surged out and soared into the sky. Soon, Ning Yu felt a connection with a mysterious space. Just as expected, this mysterious space should be the Avicii Hell. Come on, let me see how powerful you are. The Sioux clan's progenitor hooked his finger at Ning Yu and said sinisterly, Since I became a heavenly monarch, you're the first person who dared to have a life and death duel with me. Have you lost your mind? Ning Yu rolled his eyes. He looked at the Sioux clan's progenitor and said, You haven't suppressed your cultivation to a late-stage saint immortal. Why should I fight you? The Sioux clan's progenitor was stunned. Ning Lu was stunned. Su Ying was stunned. The double-horned demonic beast was stunned. They had overlooked this point. The life and death duel between the Sioux clan's progenitor and Ning Yu was built on the premise that the Sioux clan's progenitor had suppressed his cultivation to a late-stage saint immortal. Thinking about it this way, Ning Yu's chances of winning were obviously much higher. After all, Ning Yu could even kill early-stage heavenly monarchs. A mere late-stage saint immortal should not be a problem for him. Heavenly Lord Rong, please make your move. Ning Yu turned around and cupped his fists at Heavenly Lord Rong. Suppress the Sioux clan's progenitor's cultivation to a late-stage saint immortal. Of course, Heavenly Lord Rong unleashed his aura and pressed down on the Sioux clan's progenitor. Crack, crack, crack. The Sioux clan's progenitor's bones began to creak under the pressure of Heavenly Lord Rong's aura. The Sioux clan's progenitor's aura dropped rapidly. Mid-stage heavenly monarch, early-stage heavenly monarch, half-step heavenly monarch, peak saint immortal in just a short period of time. His aura had dropped to the peak saint immortal. Bang! Following a dull thud, the Sioux clan's progenitor's aura dropped to a late-stage saint immortal. I shouldn't interfere in your life and death duel, but I'd like to say a few words. Heavenly Lord Roan glanced at the Sioux clan's progenitor, then at Ningyu, and said calmly, "You must use your own strength. If I discover anyone using someone else's strength, I'll just have to apologize to them." Thump! Ningyu did not have much of a reaction to Heavenly Lord Roan's words. After all, he could only rely on his own strength. However, the Sioux clan's progenitor's heart skipped a beat. He had initially wanted to use his trump card and secretly use the clone that the immortal court had left behind to ensure that he could defeat Ningyu easily. However, it seemed like it would be difficult for him to use the clone with Heavenly Lord Roan watching him. Damn it! The Sioux clan's progenitor cursed in his heart. He could only force himself to calm down. "I'll let you make the first move. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.